Hanging from a thread till you dead, cause your partner put a price on your head. Cause your chick was laying up in his bed, she getting details, spilling every word that you said. She working retail, thirsty bitch just trying to get ahead. If history tell us anything, y'all both end up dead. It's just a street tale, a fable, some shit someone said. Sit at the table and hope there's more to offer than bread. Pulled out the cradle, first steps you getting chased by a fed. No head starts, just body parts and lead sparks. Old religion, brand new hate and weak hearts. Oligarchs, krakens, dragons, you see sharks. Imagine you could manage to maneuver the deep part. You a savage, you can have it, just show all your teeth sharp. If you could grab it, you could stab it, just aim for the bleeding heart. The ones that show compassion, the soldier that seeks art. Does the artist that wage war take over or take part? Taking a knee, thinking no one faithful is me. I'm good people in bad lands, no evil live within me. I mind mine, I'll survive, find this lands for the free. If I'm mistaken, I'm forsaken, no one rescuing me. Residual effects, stray bullets through familiar necks. For any number of infractions that I deem disrespect. Your beliefs, you deserve better, but we both in the shit. You just haven't come to grips with it yet. Fight or flight, and they ain't really nowhere to go. If your back is against the wall and you ain't throwing no blows, you gon' crumble in the rubble, become blood in the snow. If you a victim, they collect them, grab the body and go. Dig them and ditch them, total disregard for the soul. Gas them and lit them, watch the flesh burn in the glow. Where we live and catch a shiver, this a hell you don't know. Your best hope is that your dying ain't slow, or your dying's a show. Where we at, it's every man for his own. A bloody backdrop, where killers just zone and slice flesh to the bone. Masked and gloved up front of your home. A flash of gun, but the side of your dome. Fresh blood from a stone, dents in your sense. Kick your fucking ball through the fence, dare you to say something. No sense in sitting around in suspense. Find out what's next, open your fucking mouth, disrespect. See the extent of how my life is intense. She beautiful and oppressed in a permanent summer dress. She a servant and still she blessed. Children cradled against her breast, whispering prayers, wishing their souls the best, knowing that they forgotten, not forgetting they're blessed. The bloodiest red lights, just piles of dead life. Something must be broken, the glyphs wasn't read right. You think them Bible papers will shed light? Yeah, right. Burn after reading, tell the preacher I'm leaving. Salute, salute, salutes. It's popping, y'all. We are back. Welcome to Shy Ill Reacts. I am your host, Shy Ill. And we are back at it like bad habits. Hope everybody's having a good Thursday. It's been a busy week. We've been getting it in on this side. So much appreciation to everybody that's been showing their face. We're getting it on and popping. We're back live today. We're going to get through a couple of things here. Hopefully y'all here to kick it. I ain't in no hurry. It's early. It's a gloomy day in Chicago. It is what it is. Smoke them if you got them. If you don't smoke, then have you a sandwich or something. I mean, what's good, y'all? Salutes, little housekeeping out the way. We have the TTS, $2 TTS, text-to-speech. You can put a comment directly on my screen that will ring out and read like this.
Test user sent $50 test message.
You can, for $5, add a link to that, and I will react to that video, barring it doesn't get my channel knocked down. And like we all know, YouTube's trying to get my channel knocked down. But I will react to it then and there, barring it doesn't take my channel down. So we got that for $2 and $5. The description is in the link. Super thanks, super chats, all of that good stuff is activated. Other ways to support the channel. We also have our Ill shop. We've opened our merch shop. We got Ill Cartel gear, El Wapo gear, and we got a new addition that I'm gonna show y'all right now. That is essential for every young hustler's home as a reminder to keep himself well aware and ready for whatever happens in life, he has to know that pillow talk is a bad thing. The No Pillow Talk throw pillow covers are available at the Ill Shop. As you can see, it's a circle with a slash through it, so it's a No Pillow Talk pillow. So salutes to that for every young hustler. Every young hustler needs a reminder. No Pillow Talk. Get it in different colors. Boom. No Pillow Talk. Cover up your throw pillows with a little message to yourself while you hustling. Zero pillow talk. Let's not do it, all right? Let's not do it. So y'all can see that. I'm about to get to the chat in a second. Appreciate y'all being here. So boom, that is also available, as well as our donations, our PayPals, our Cash Apps, as a way for you to support the show. For those that don't know, we got Il Cartel gear right here, many colors. Bow, dope little logo. Right, what else we got down here? We got the green. I'm digging the green. For the ladies, the green with the pink. Or for the fellas, the green with the pink. If you rock pink, some of us are man enough to rock pink. Boom, we got the red joint. Bow. And let's not forget, we got these solid colored joints. These are dope. And for the boss of the backyard, the El Wapo Boss of the Backyard and Mero of the Man Cave grill apron, all right? So we got that too. So make sure y'all go check that out. I'm going to, matter of fact, I'm going to do it right now, per usual. I'm going to throw the link up for the shop. Boom. Let's get this link up here. And here's the link for the shop. We're going to pin that up. I'll be dropping some more links for playlists and Discord invites. But I'm going to pin this right now. Boom, there we go. All right, let's get to the chat. Salutes Old Soul for being first. 030 North, what's good? Salutes to you, 030 North. The usual suspects are in the building. Adam Villanueva, what up, Shy? Salutes to you, sir. Appreciate you. Jonathan Pantoja, salute my dude Shy Ill. Another day, another blessing. Let's get it. Absolutely. Let's get it. Another day, another blessing. Oso's laughing. I guess he's laughing at the Zero Pillow Talk pillow covers for the young hustlers in your life to make sure they remind themselves. When you lay your head on that pillow, you shut your mouth. Period. Wildin'. So yeah, so we got all of those things available. Salutes to that. Salutes to the hard work of whoever produces this show, boy. Damn. That guy right there be on the move. Again, hope everybody's having a good Thursday. The weekend is near. Salutes to the weekend. We're going to be right here. Also working on getting the Patreon up and popping. The Patreon will basically be, I'm going to try to have it be where the videos go that either get copyright struck or guideline struck on YouTube. Again, they also have their own terms of service and stuff like that, but I'm hoping they're a little less, they have less algorithms that are just picking things apart, you know what I'm saying? And I'm looking to put that stuff over there, so like my plan in the near future is to take things like The Last Narc that are somebody else's copyright, that they might not, that the algorithm might not necessarily recognize it when I do it as fair use, and they might shut me down. I'll be putting all that stuff on Patreon and checking that out. There's a lot of stuff I want to go through, a lot of movies. I'd like to go through movies too, and you know, see how bullshit the movies get, and how bullshit the movies get, and how they compare to the story. You know what I mean? Also, over the week, during these lives, y'all asked me to post some parts that I played on TV. I started that last night, and I posted up the... it's a 1-minute clip. It's just me being an extra on the show Power. Jonathan Pantoja, don't talk, don't get caught, period. You know what I'm saying? Just no pillow talking. And every time you look at that pillowcase and you see that little O with the slash through it, you shut your mouth. Everybody's listening. No pillow talking. But yeah, so I put up a little story on the description. You can read the description, but it's a 1 minute video or something like that. It's a short, and it's me on the show Power Book Force. There's the link for it right there. Go and save that link. Don't go to it now. I mean, you can, but make sure you run right back as soon as you're done with it. Basically, the story behind that is I went to Joliet prison, the old Joliet, the old Statesville, and shot that early in the year. It was freezing. And then forgot all about it. Went on to audition for that season. Didn't get the part. Auditioned for like a club owner or something. Didn't get the part. Remember watching the premiere and saying to myself, damn, I'm salty I didn't get to touch this show, man. I wanted to touch this show. It's in Chicago. It's based in Chicago. And then the moment the shit turned on the TV, I saw myself and said, oh, shit, I did touch the show. So I had forgot all about it. So y'all can check that out there. That's one. I'll start posting them sporadically, the different little parts and shit. Salute Chucky Chingong in the chat. Yo, we back, Chingong. Salutes to you, brother. Thank you for being here. We gonna hang out for a little while. We getting the housekeeping out the way. So yeah, the people asked me to do that. I did it. We got little shorts coming up with that. This week, what's new in the playlists is if you go to the Cartel Chronicles, we got the story of El Güero and what they did to his family. And we posed the question, did what they did to his family start the trend of cartels going after families? You know what I'm saying? Which is a bad thing, a sad thing. But it seems like a turning point. Unless, even 30 years before that, they were going for families. Who knows? When we get into the history, we'll get deeper. I enjoy my community. I enjoy the people because some of you guys are much more educated on the topic than I am. You know what I'm saying? So y'all bring me information and we going through it together. I'm the one that's learning, so I appreciate y'all for it. That's pretty much it, man. We're going to hang out today. I got the cafecito ready. The trees are on deck. I want to look into this DEA Special Agent Hector Bereyes. Besides just getting into his life and his beliefs on the Kiki Camarena case, I want to get more to that first. I do want to know how he got into the game and stuff like that. My understanding is in 1975. Was it 1975 or 1973? It might have been 73. 73 or 75. All I know is that Kiki Camarena became a DEA agent a year before or a year after Bereyes. You know what I'm saying? So much. It easily could have been him that was in Kiki Camarena's place. That's a fact. You know what I mean? Easily could have been him. All right, man. Hundreds in the chat. I got a video picked here, and we're going to go straight into it. Again, if we get knocked down at any point, I'll be back. And if I don't come back, it's because they suspended me and put me in the bottom of the jail. You know what I mean? But also hit the like button, please. Appreciate it if you hit the like button. If we got 10 in here, let's get 10 likes. If we got 20 in here, let's get 20 likes. If hopefully by the end of this, we got 50,000 people, I'm hoping to have at least 45,000 likes. You know what I mean? Chucky Chingon said, crazy, the Bereyes family lived 2 blocks away. No shit. Crazy Southwest situations. It's crazy. That guy got in the game. We're gonna go. We might as well do this. It's an Amazon video, so they might try to knock me down. As soon as they give me the warning, I'm gonna let y'all know that they've warned me, and I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm not gonna push the issue. Like Big Chang said, I was pushing the issue. I'm not gonna push the issue. As soon as Amazon Prime tells YouTube to tell me to relax, I'm gonna relax. All right, make sure y'all hit that like button. Subscribe if you have yet to do so. Share it with a friend. Tell them we're here. Jonathan Pantoja in the chat says, Sha'el, you're leaving your mark everywhere. Salutes. I'm trying, bro. I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? When I'm dead and gone, you're going to look around and, damn, look at him right there. Damn, look at him right there. So that's the move. Trying to put my hand in all the soups. I'm the third wheel. I'm the extra chef in the kitchen. I'm photobombing the world. All right, let's check this out. This is a clip. I believe it's some kind of like teaser clip for the Last Narc documentary. I'm gonna do the Last Narc documentary. I'm gonna do that not on a live. So I'm gonna shoot it and then I'm gonna try to get it on YouTube. If it doesn't go on YouTube, then I might have to put it somewhere else. Carlos Stanton said, "Me and the son grew up together. He was a wild youngster. Even some of the fam was in the game. That's why it's crazy." Yeah, no, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Listen, I'm trying to set up my StreamYard. I got to find a tricky way to do it the way the homie Zaya does it. I think I understand it, but I got to ask him if I'm right. And that way, Chucky, I can send you the link, man, and we can have these conversations on screen, bro, and you can sit in with me on the show whenever whenever you got time. Tucson, Arizona repping, absolutely. But yeah, growing up with people that, I mean, you're very close to the game down there, very close to the culture. You're part of the culture, really, yeah, I don't doubt it, man. You grow up with these guys, and then you see their story later, and you're like, yeah, I knew that. I ate bread at that table. The newly formed DEA needed Spanish-speaking narcs to infiltrate Mexican and South American drug rings. Hector joined the DEA in 1974. Kiki joined 1 year later. So, again, it could have been either one of them that ended up in that dirt like that. So that's just a little background. I just wanted to throw a little, at risk of the whole channel, I wanted to throw a little background of Bereyes, Hector Bereyes in there. So we got it. Hopefully I'm on this guy's allowed list right here. So now I'm interested in hearing his theory. I want to hear his theory about the Kiki Camarena case and how he feels about the CIA and all of that good stuff. So here we go. We should be good now.
Today I have a special guest. We're continuing with Agent Hector Bereyes. Hector, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me, sir.
I want to ask you, there's been
Should I just start calling him Bereyes?
a memo that we got our hands on that was written by a former highly placed DEA agent, and it's highly critical of the Last
Narc. So let's take a look. Larry McEllen asked to share the below. The reviews from the field are in on the Last Narc, and the dissatisfaction runs wide and deep. Disappointing, confusing, blatant lies, pure fiction. Amazon has created a cruel, heartless, and unfeeling interpretation of a tragedy that struck at the heart of the Camarena family and every employee at the DEA. Why dredge up a brutal tragedy that occurred 35 years ago? Why? Because y'all lied. What you mean, why? Because the truth don't have a statute of limitations. The truth doesn't have an expiration date. You know what I mean? What you mean? Why drudge it up? Why? Because you don't want to hear your end of the whole situation. Why dredge up a brutal tragedy that occurred 35 years ago, distort the facts, and do harm to those who remember and cherish the memory of Kiki Camarena, simply to sensationalize the story to draw and enlarge a viewing audience? Now, I have seen this Last Narc, but I've seen it so long ago that I don't, I push things out. There's a lot going on. I push things out of my head. But I don't remember it being I don't remember it doing harm to Kiki, making Kiki look bad at no point. You know what I mean? That I don't remember. But again, I'm going to watch it again. And now we know, just off the trailer, that they're never going to let me put that on YouTube. So that's I'm going to have to try to put that on the Patreon page. If it don't work on Patreon, we're going on OnlyFans. We're going where whoever's going to let my video play. You know what I mean? Son of a bitch. Let's see. It is truly unfortunate that an extraordinary man's brave life and terrible death should be the stuff of cheap entertainment. Chucky said in the chat, Yeah, I remember that guy too. Is that the guy? I think he had a scar on his face or something. He said, "Nah, it's straight up. Wait till you see the Sicarios who were there. One still sees spirits." Good. I hope you see him for the rest of his life. You know what I mean? All right. There are still many people, blah, blah, blah. So that's what they had to say. Here we
Last
go.
narc, and saying that it's basically full of lies. What is
There are still many people who know the truth, and they're outraged that the Amazon producers would engage in such a shoddy fictional enterprise. Amazon should take no pride in this effort. Rather, they should hang their collective heads in shame. Amazon's willingness to peddle conspiracy theories is truly as desperate as it is illogical. In 1985, I served as special assistant to the administrator of DEA, Jack Lawn. He already sounded like a liar. Administrator Lawn dealt with this incident in the aftermath for the entire 5 years of his tenure.
What is your response to that being put out to all the current and former DEA agents?
I spoke to Mr. Lawn recently, and he told me he was outraged that an Amazon source indicated that there was corruption in DEA, or that there was a greater conspiracy involving the White House, the Contras, or the CIA. But why would you pretend that there isn't a greater conspiracy when we know that the Contras and the CIA and the White House and the Say No to Drugs and the Rick Rosses, we know that happened. That's a fact. There's no, Gulf of Tonkin incident, Vietnam, there's a whole lot of things that were once conspiracies that are no longer conspiracies because they're out there on the public record now. So if we know that the U.S. was Ali North was the fall guy for the U.S., subsidizing wars in Nicaragua, how are you going to tell me it didn't happen? Mr. Long further stated, the fanciful narrative outlined in The Last Narc makes interesting viewing but is without historic merit. The Amazon source has maligned those dedicated men and women who were part of this major investigation and disrespects the organization in which he served. Mr. Long concluded by saying, our membership recalls the investigation, the search for truth, the trial in Los Angeles, and the convictions of some who were involved. Other agencies thank DEA for telling the world, if you attack one of us serving overseas, the full weight of our commitment to each other will be your burden to bear. It's the only thing y'all showed, but y'all wait till somebody smokes one of y'all to get up and do something.
That memorandum basically is being put out because the agencies, the DEA specifically, the CIA, are continuing to want to cover up the real reasons why Camarena was ordered, kidnapped, interrogated, and finally he was murdered. But they want to continue with this false scenario. They don't want to let the truth come out.
Obviously, it's been alleged in the Last Narc that the CIA was complicit in the kidnap of Kiki Camarena. Why would the CIA even want to have anything to do with kidnapping a DEA agent?
Well, Kiki Camarena received information that Caro Quintero had a ranch in Veracruz, and he received information that tons of cocaine were being flown in there. Kiki Camarena started to investigate that ranch in Veracruz. What Kiki did not know is that that ranch was being used by the NSC, the CIA, and the DIA. And they were using that ranch for two reasons. Number one, to transship weapons to the Contras in Nicaragua.
There it is.
And they were also using that ranch to bring in tons of cocaine, which they were distributing in the United States to fund the war in Nicaragua.
There it is.
Why did they want to do it this way? Why were they so secretively doing this? And why did they choose to basically deal drugs to fund this war? The reason is because Congress had passed the Bolin Amendment in 1979-80,
Period.
which prohibited the CIA, the DIA, and the NSC from funding and being militarily supporting the Contras.
There it is. That's fact. You know what I'm saying? Whoever Jack is and whoever wrote that letter, this is fact. And don't tell me, but those things happen at the same time. They're not connected. They're all connected. Rick Baker, I don't know if y'all know who Rick Baker, I believe that was his name. Let me make sure. Let me make sure Rick Baker's the right name. Let me see. He was a cop. He was an LA cop or a county sheriff or something. And he went in the 80s or the 90s in front of the... No, Rick Baker is not. Rick Baker is the guy that did the makeup for like Werewolf and Harry and the Hendersons and shit. Wrong guy. I forget his name, man. I forget his name right now. There's too many names, too much shit. But he was a cop, and he said it. The United States been selling cocaine, selling crack in this country for a long time. Put it out loud. Boom. Went and told his story his whole life until he ended himself. Rick Ross, him doing what he was doing. All of that was connected to exactly what Better Yes is talking about. The Iran-Contra affair. The United States said, listen, y'all ain't going to get no more funding to send guns to these places. They show it at the beginning of Snowfall. Everybody's living the good life. The agents living the good life, getting lit. All of this shit. Boom. They cut off the funding. They had to figure it out, so they had to start pushing work. You know what I mean? And that's what they did. So these generals that believed, oh, we have to win this war in this place for whatever reason. Why? Because if we don't win this war, they're going to close down all the ways we make money. All the ways we run this country, our chess game, they're going to shut it down. So we have to win this war. How do we win this war? We're going to have to sell dope. We sell dope. They pay for guns. Our side wins the war. Beautiful. What they didn't realize is they were taking the black and Hispanic community and putting it under the veil of crack, which we're affected by to this day. They were putting dudes like Rick Ross in positions to go to prison for what they were doing. They put Ollie North on the stand, Ronald Reagan, Nancy Reagan, say no to drugs, put a blemish on all of that in the minds of people that actually know and give a shit and that are, woke. Gary Webb, there you go, Chucky, Gary Webb. What else? Oh no, wait. Gary Webb, that was the pilot guy, right? I'll probably put them together. I remember that name too. Didn't he have supposedly have somebody's phone number in his pocket? Didn't Tom Cruise play that guy? What else did this mission do? Kill mad people in Nicaragua and was part of this whole Kiki Camarena shit. It was a bad move. Dante Pantoja said, I believe aliens are now a recognized thing too. Like, yeah, and again, that can also be a double-edged sword. That could be them pulling a psyop on us. You know what I'm saying? They could be pulling a psyop on us. They could be just using aliens as a distraction now. When we was trying to scream it in their face before and they weren't trying to hear it. Or aliens really exist and they're declassified now. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. Who knows? But again, a lot of these things that we thought were conspiracies, they're no longer conspiracies, man. They're facts. They're things that happen, and the Iran-Contra affair happened. You know what I'm saying? We got a comment in the comments. I want to pronounce it right. Jamari A. Walker says they're locked in and they're here. Salute to you. You in the comments. You could swipe right over the comment box and you'll be with us in the live if you'd like. But salutes to you and thank you for being here. Chucky says, stumbled across the wrong place. They couldn't take a chance. Gary Webb ended up dead after exposing the government and Rick Ross. Reporter. Okay, there you go. Yep, stay woke. So, like, if you look for the information, especially now in this age, when we was coming up, we had Encyclopedia Britannica. And we had our school textbooks. And guess what? They were all fucking lying. All of them. Just a big-ass yellow pages thick of lies and bullshit, right? Some facts. I mean, a fact is a fact. A cup is a cup. A plate is a plate. But as far as historic events, you know what I'm saying? Like, Tom Cruise was a samurai, if you let them tell it. You know what I'm saying? Tarzan was a white guy from Brooklyn, if you let them tell it. So we had that. Now in this information age, there's no reason that you can't go look up all of these things. It's what we do here. We want to know what happened. We go and we look up and we deduct and we see what's what around here. So for them to say it couldn't be, bullshit. the United States government was caught with their pants down during that Contra affair. And now I'm salty because, listen, even if a cop tortures a criminal, I got a problem with the cop torturing the criminal. If a criminal tortures a criminal, you always gonna have some kind of, depending on what the dude on the bottom did. If it's law enforcement, that's one thing. If dude owes $10 million and he's tied to a tree, what can I say for him? You know what I'm saying? Again, we do pick and choose. But Kiki Camarena was part of his own gang, right? And if his own gang or the cousins of his own gang, or they're supposedly fighting for the same thing, if they got this dude tortured and they got this dude offed, they bogus. And to this day, to be like hiding behind his name, hiding behind his family, don't dredge this up. Don't bring this up for the family. Nah, y'all just don't want y'all laundry on the line while everybody can see it.
Why? Because we had just come out of Vietnam. We had just got our butts kicked in Vietnam. We lost that war. And they didn't think, they meaning Congress, that the U.S. citizens of this country would want to just jump into another war again. And because they were denied funding this war, and they were denied giving military assistance to the Contras, they decided to do it secretly and illegally. Why?
America, see, you didn't even learn a lesson from yourself. Why don't you go get a job? Why don't you pull yourself up from your bootstraps when you ain't even got no shoes on? You know what I'm saying? And what happens when you do what you got to do? What happens when you can't get the job because you made a mistake when you were 15? What happens when you can't get the job because of how you look, how you sound, or maybe you're just not bright enough for the job? What happens when there's nobody that want to give you the job? And you come from generations and generations of people who was hard up trying to get the job, and you've been stuck in poverty? What do you do when you do what you got to do to put food on the plate? The same thing you do when you got to sponsor a war somewhere else that'll benefit you. You sell dope. You don't judge yourself, but you judge everybody else. You can kiss my entire ass.
Because the Russians were arming the Sandinistas, the communist regime that had just taken over Nicaragua, and so were the Cubans. And they were...
So there it is, right? What is the U.S.'s motive? Why do they want the Contras to win this war? Because we're in a Cold War with Russia. And Russia's in cahoots with Cuba. Right? And they're backing the Sandinistas. America got to win. We need this money. We're going to go get little Ricky Ross on the phone. Tell him we're going to teach him how to cook up some crack, and it's going down.
Upset, meaning the CIA, the CIA, the NSC, and the DIA, they were upset that they couldn't, they wouldn't get the backing from Congress. So what do? They become partners with not only the Mexican cartels, first of all with Pablo Escobar, and then they become partners with the drug lords in Mexico, mainly the Guadalajara drug cartel, and they became partners in shipping the weapons south, gun running through Mexico, the weapons to Ilipango, where they were basically given to the Contras to fight the war against the communists. And because they didn't have any funding to fund the war, they became partners in drug trafficking.
Bruh. Damn, what the fuck?
With the drug lords, and they were bringing the cocaine into the United States, selling it here in South, and they were bringing the cocaine in, became partners in drug trafficking.
So again, if you know the story, if you watch the TV shows, if you watch Narcos Mexico, they called Felix and was like, we need you to do us a favor. And he was like, nah, we don't do favors. And he went to go do the favor, and it ended up he had to push guns. I don't remember what, there was an agent there that they put him in every movie, every story about this. I guess he was in the Escobar one too, to do with the beer, very nonchalant about his job. Had them push out the guns, come back with the dope, sell the dope, take that money, get guns, go back and forth, and this was their operation.
Trafficking with the drug lords, and they were bringing the cocaine into the United States, selling it here in South Central Los Angeles and other big cities, using the Bloods and the Crips as basically distributors for them.
Hector, those are
using the Bloods and the Crips basically as distributors for them. The same Bloods and Crips that they throw Ricos on, that they hate, that they blame for everything. They don't blame themselves for none of it. You know what I mean? But they're not beneath them when they can use them to, fight their wars.
Obviously, some very
as basically distributors for them.
Hector, those are obviously some very strong allegations. But let me ask you this. In some way, are you being critical of the CIA and the DEA as a whole? Because, talking to you off camera, you had mentioned that you've actually worked alongside these guys, right? And they're not all bad.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, most of the CIA operatives that I work with are very great people. And I would never, ever accuse the agencies of the DEA, my friends, of being basically not doing the right thing or being corrupt. Most of them are very great people. I worked black operations with the CIA and for the CIA. I have a lot of friends in the DEA. To this day, I love the DEA. However,
They snakes.
they told me, meaning the CIA people, that they do not work under our constitutional law because they are not law enforcement agents. They are what we call intelligence agencies, and their main mission.
So what does that make them? Does that make them like these places like the Vatican or Washington D.C. where they're considered their own country and they don't have to play by the same rules? So what do you consider? Are you a military organization? Are you a paramilitary organization? What are you? Because your boys his boys are telling him, yeah, we might have had something to do with Kiki Camarena, but we didn't break no laws. Because we ain't subject to your laws. Because we're not police. We are intelligence. Sound like a gang to me. Look like a duck, walk like a duck. Chucky in the chat said, not only that, the Fast and Furious operation was recent here in AZ. Guns were all let me see, I can't see it. Guns were all over. Then the pigs snitched on each other. Is that the one where they ran into each other? I've heard the name. Again, I read the articles and then I push that shit out of my head. I got too much shit to think about. The Fast and the Furious, it's like, but that happens all the time. The feds and the CIA run into each other and they foil each other's operations and they lock each other up and they rat each other out. It's a big goofball situation. Everybody wants to live the movie, man. You know what I'm saying? Even when it's a cop hunting down another cop that doesn't know that he's getting hunted down by a cop. You know what I mean? Like, shit just sounds stupid to me, like a waste of money, like a circle jerk of a bunch of dudes that wanted to be spies in high school and weren't worth shit. You know what I'm saying? And now they're playing this stupid game. I could imagine what the smart ones are in there feeling like, oh, I'm surrounded by a bunch of dummies ratting each other out and locking each other up. They were selling guns like crazy to track them to the cartels. It went bad. Yeah, we're going to look into that one because I need to know when it goes bad, why it went bad, and so that I could be like, yeah, I'm not surprised. These dummies did this, that, or the other. I don't know why Jonathan Pantoja said, I don't know why the term black spots popped into my mind. Yeah, I don't know, man. This guy's talking about black ops over here. But this dude's, he's basically laying it out. Yeah, my friends ain't mad at me because they're like, yeah, we don't play by your rules. We ain't got nothing to do with your laws. What?
It's not in the United States, it's to work outside our country. Their main job is to protect the national security of this country. And they do a great job at doing that. However, because they're not law enforcement, sometimes they have to do things that are not lawful.
Understood. And what has been...
So whose law are they subject to then? Their own? So who makes the decision? Sometimes we don't have to follow the rules and we could do things out of the rules. So that means you could, in a fit of rage and anger, you could smoke somebody in a bar, then turn around and say, well, I'm CIA. And, I don't really have to follow your rules. Sometimes we have to do what we have to do. But who's the judge of when you got to do what you got to do? You know what I mean? Who's to judge it? Sounds like they got a free pass until they don't. So the government says, okay, we saved this guy enough. We're using him as a scapegoat this time. Throw him out there.
Been the response of some of the agents that have, or some of the feedback that you've gotten after they've watched The Last Narc?
Most of the agents that have watched it, that have contacted me, are shocked. They don't believe that these things actually happened.
Get them.
And why are they not knowing all of this stuff? And the reason was because that investigation was a internal affairs type of investigation. I was ordered never to talk about the investigation outside my particular group, which is Operation Leyenda Task Force. So a lot of these agents were never exposed to the facts, even when I was there, the true facts of the what was going on in the investigation.
Hector, obviously, I've seen The Last Narc, twice already, and I want to watch it a third time because it's just incredible. I'm wondering what your reaction after working with Tiller Russell long and hard with this particular docuseries. What's your reaction to the completed project?
First, I'd like to inform you and state that it took us 3 years to put that documentary together. And the reason that it took so long is because all of the information that we were putting out had to be vetted. It had to be checked, rechecked, because we knew that they were going to attack us and say that this was all a pack of lies. So therefore, we painstakingly took the time to make sure that every allegation made in that program could be corroborated, supported, not only by witnesses as you saw, but also by a lot of corroborative documents. We knew we were going to come under attack, and we did, and they almost canceled the documentary. And we're still being attacked, and we're threatened that we're going to be sued. But we're not concerned with that, because you know what's really, really strong about this documentary is that it's the truth, and you know what? You can't really crack the truth. I don't care how hard they try, they can't get away from the truth. Everything is documented, vetted, and can be proved.
Hector, some of the most incredible scenes that I recall from The Last Narc.
See, and that's the difference. Some people just want to go make a documentary in 3 weeks, and then they say a bunch of bullshit that can't be corroborated, that don't nobody know about. None of that shit. You got guys like, I don't know if y'all follow hip-hop, but like there's a guy out there right now that's making all kind of accusations about this guy named Big U and the Nipsey Hussle situation. Like, Papa, the shit you're saying can be just proved away and pushed away and debunked like in seconds. Like, why are you even running your mouth? Like, that's anti-clout. You know what I'm saying? Because you think to yourself, what does Better Yes get out of telling this story? You know what I'm saying? Maybe like Kiki Camarena, he was a guy that wanted the truth out there. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's a dude that's looking for the truth. I'm sure he didn't make any friends. He even has Kiki's wife on there. Yeah, man, I believe I've seen that documentary. I'm going to do it again tonight. I'm going to do it on film. I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to film it. I'm going to edit it. And then I'm going to see. Yeah, it was that loose cannon. I didn't want to say his name. And I'm glad you spelled it. There's only one loose cannon I know. Two of them, actually. And both are MCs. One was on Bloodline with DMX. And the other one's from Chicago. So salutes to those loose cannons. That cocksucker from Cali, nobody knows who he is. And stop. He's just talking crazy. You know what I mean? With your cheerleader, Whack 100 right next to you. Like, I don't even get it. But yeah, this guy right here, he just seems like he just wants to get it. That was his career. That was his life. It was classified when it was classified, and now he's speaking his piece.
Narc was the shootout, or as incredible.
Get away from the truth. Everything is documented, vetted, and can be proved.
Hector, some of the most incredible scenes that I recall from The Last Narc was the shootout, or as we've talked about it, the blood in the corn scene. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And there's sort of this comical part where the taxi cab owner apparently later on comes back and actually asks for his taxi. Is that right?
That is correct. Actually, the reason we named it Blood on the Corn was because my mother is a fortune teller. She learned how to read tarot cards, do hand readings, palm readings, and even work with a crystal ball. So before I went to Mexico, she did a card reading for me. And she told me, you're going to be involved in a horrible shootout. And she told me, as she was looking at the cards, she said, son, I see blood on cornfields. Be very careful. I see a lot of death here, she told me. And obviously I asked my mom, I hope one of the dead you're seeing isn't me, Mom. And she says, no, you're not going to be killed. So I felt a little relieved.
I mean, if she's gonna have one customer that trusts what she got to say, it's gonna be that dude right there. Especially when he's going to war.
After I got to Mexico, about 8 months later, I get a call from Colombia where they tell me that a ship has left Colombia with 20 tons of marijuana, Colombian marijuana, and a ton of cocaine. And they tell me that they're tracing the travel of the ship via satellite. And I also was told that the recipient of the drugs was going to be this trafficker by the name of Pablo Jacobo, who lived near Culiacan, little town there, actually in Limoncito, by the coast in Mexico. So I said, okay. So we proceeded to go and pick him up, arrest him. However, before I went from Mazatlan, where I was stationed, to Limoncito, I checked, and I soon found out that the comandante there was protecting the drug lords. So I called my good friend, Guillermo Gonzalez Calderoni in Mexico City, who was a deputy commander of the Mexican Federal Police. And I said, Guillermo, I said, you got
Calderoni, now if I understand his character correctly, he is in Mexico, Narcos Mexico, and he was the no-nonsense, knock-around guy cop that Kiki worked with, that was, part of his liaison, in Mexico. And from the telling of the film, eventually he ended up on the take. He ended up, working for them guys on the street.
gotta send me some people. I said, the comandante there is compromised, and I need to go in without him knowing I'm going in and try to take this big load of...
I hope I'm not wrong. I'll be salty if I'm wrong, but I think that was that character, the slick back dude.
And I said, Guillermo, I said, you gotta send me some people. I said, the comandante there is compromised, and I need to go in without him knowing I'm going in and try to take this big load of drugs down. And he said, no problem, Hector, I can only spare you 12 men. Is that enough? And I said, yeah, that'll do. I have 5 guys over here, so we'll have up close to 20 guys. We can handle it, I think, with 20. And he said, okay, fine, good luck. Real early in the morning, we proceeded to Limoncito to pick up Jacobo. We had the address where the phone was located, where he was receiving the calls from Colombia. And it was a little store with dirt floors. It was a nothing little store. They had Coca-Cola signs. And I actually saw a guy behind a person behind a counter. And I asked him, is Pablo Jacobo here? And he said, we don't know no Pablo Jacobo. There's no Pablo Jacobo here. But I noticed him going into like a drawer behind the cash register. So I ran up and I put my AK-47 right in his head and I said, freeze. And a good thing I did that and reacted that quick, because he was going for a 9mm pistol. And so basically we grabbed him and we told him, okay, you're Pablo Jacobo, and we know that you're expecting a shipment of drugs. And after a little coercing, he admitted that yes, that he had already received the shipment of cocaine at his farm in Limoncito, which is a little agricultural growing area there outside the village. So we asked him, is anybody there? Is there anybody protecting that load? Is there any armed people over there? And he says, no, just my ranch hands. Is there a phone over there? And he said, no, there's no phone at the ranch. He lied to me, because I wanted to know if there was a phone there, because obviously other people had already walked to the store and seen we had him in custody, and somebody might have called ahead and warned them. They said, are you sure there's no phone there? And he says, no, there's no phone there. I said, okay. I'm going to put you in front of the car with me, and if these guys were warned and they try to shoot us, you're going to be my shield. They're going to kill you first. And he said, fine, whatever. So you're going to take us and show us where that little ranch is. So we drove out. And when we got there, he pointed at his dirt road off the freeway, and he says, right there. But I looked down, and there was nothing but a dirt road with rows of cornfields on both sides. We send the scouts out, and as the scouts are going out to basically check out the area, I looked down with binoculars, and all of a sudden, the back of my neck and the back of my head started standing up, and all of a sudden I could visualize blood on the stalks, and I said, oh my God, I thought to myself, this is the way that my mom described it in her tarot card reading to me. The scouts came back and they said, no, there's no other way in. We're going to have to go to the main road. So I told all my agents, put on all of your bulletproof vests on, all the protective gear you've got. We might get ambushed driving in. And I said, we are going to drive the lead car in, so you follow behind us. And Comandante and I were in the lead car, and he was driving. And as we're driving in, and we're getting closer to this ranch house, all of a sudden I just heard an explosion. I knew by instinct that the windshield of our car had just been blown out. I had glass all over my face, I had cuts. I don't remember how I got out of the car, but I dove out of the car and I crawled behind a water trough. And the intense was so heavy, the dumper of bullets on me, that I was afraid to even raise my hand and get my fingers blown out. So I stayed really low. A few minutes later, this other agent friend of mine, Sal Leva, crawled in right next to me. And he told me, boss, we're gonna die here. We already have 5 agents down. And I said, what? Yeah, we have 5 guys that have been shot.
Why you still down there, bro? Get your ass up, man. 5 guys shot up
already. And I said, oh my God, I go. And I could hear them saying, please help us, help us. We're bleeding to death. We've been hit hard. We're dying. And I looked over and I said, Jesus, we gotta get some help to those guys.
Ronnie Castellón just subscribed on YouTube.
Salutes to the new subscriber. Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
I then got up and I said, we shoot back. Everybody shoot back. We got to repel this aggression or else they're going to kill us. So everybody opened up back to them. And then I noticed that the wounded were laying close to one of our DEA SUVs. An SUV that Jim White, one of my agents, had been driving, and it was shot up too. So I told Jim, we got to pull up the...
Shout out to Ronnie Castellón. Salutes to you, new sub. That thing's on a little delay. I'll take it.
The SUV back to where the wounded are. We gotta get him some help. They're bleeding to death. So he actually was laying on the floorboard of his SUV and activating the gas pedal with his hand. And I was guiding him as I was shooting over the engine up front. So we pulled close to the wounded, and when we were right there next to them, I then crawled underneath and was dragging him by their legs to this side where there was some cover. We actually loaded him up as best we could. We got him in the back of the SUV, and I told him, let's go. So we take off. And I'm praying, and these guys are praying too because they're bleeding to death. And they're saying, please, tell my mother this, tell my sister that I loved her. It was a surreal.
You was cheating because your mom already told you was going to make it. You know what I mean? Cheater.
Scene. So as we're driving, all of a sudden, I see a taxi cab coming from the other side. And I tell Jim, stop, there's a taxi cab, pull over. So he pulls over, and I run out with my AK-47, and I point it at the taxi cab driver, and I tell him, Alto Judicial Federal, federal police in Spanish. And of course, I didn't realize that I was full of blood from carrying all the wounded. I must have been a scary sight to this taxi cab driver. So he gets out, and he's all scared, and he actually urinated all over his pants with his hands up, and he says, please, senor, don't kill me, don't kill me. Says, I'm not going to kill you. I said, you see that guy right there? And I point at Jim White, who is 6 foot, blonde hair, blue-eyed, Anglo-Saxon, max Anglo-Saxon looking guy.
Monster.
I said, go with him. He's a Judicial Federal. Take him to the hospital. We have wounded in the car. And he looks at me, and Jim, he knows he's not Mexican, obviously. He says, are you sure he's a Judicial Federal? Don't argue with me. You go with him, all right? So he gets in the car with Jim in the SUV, and they peel out. Because now he was going to get him to a hospital. So then I get back in the cab. I tell Jim, I said, I'm going back to the shootout. I can't leave my men over there. So I jump back in the taxi cab, and I go back to the scene of the shootout. And there's still, shooting, intense shooting going on. And when I pull up, of course, they see the cab. The bad guys stop shooting because they wonder who's in the cab. My guys stop shooting because they're wondering who's in the cab. And then I get out of the cab, and I yell at my guys, hey guys, it's me. But I couldn't get too close, and I fired a clip of AK-47 machine gun fire at the crooks. Then they opened up real heavily. Everybody, all the crooks shot back at me, but I was hiding taking cover behind the engine of the cab, and they really shut up that cab. I mean, they blew out.
Here's the thing, man. Ain't nothing else, Wheel well, depends the caliber. Because shit, you sit on the other side of that wheel and let them hit that car with something heavy and a brake pad hit you in the spine. You know what I'm saying? That engine is the only real deal side. Now back then, them cars was made out of steel. That taxi cab was made out of steel, so I'm sure it took a hit. But these boys wasn't playing handgun games; they was playing big boy games. The only place he could hide was behind that engine.
All the windows, the tires were all flat. I mean, they destroyed that cab. It was like Swiss cheese. After about an hour, the Mexican army shows up. Jim had gotten word to the Mexican army to come back us up. So I asked him, I said, you have an M79 grenade launcher? And the lieutenant says, do you know how to use one of those things? And I said, yeah, do you have one? And he says, yes, I do. I says, bring it out here. I'm ex-Army, U.S. Army. I said, I know how to use those things. So that's basically, I started hitting him with grenades, and that's when the guys started coming out with their white shirts, you know, giving up, surrendering. And that's how the shootout ended, but there was numerous dead, like I said, on their side.
That's an incredible story. Hector, I want to thank you for joining us today in the interrogation room and sharing this incredible story of heroism. I know that you're one of the highest, if not the highest, decorated DEA agent in their history. So it's just an honor for you to sit down with me today. And I want to ask you something about the family. It just so happens.
You know, what is his benefit? What does it benefit him if it's not true? If the CIA's operation, if Kiki Camarena's life and death had nothing to do with conspiracy between the CIA, the Contras, the United States of America, the Mexican cartels, if it had nothing to do with any of that, then what's his win here? Why would he even talk about it? You know what I'm saying? Being as highly decorated as he is in the DEA, why would he even come out of his face if it wasn't true? You know what I'm saying? And say that. I don't think it would have served him well. It just sounds like a dude that wants to tell the truth. Like, what would be his win otherwise? You alienate yourself. You got all of these other organizations that are known to overthrow countries and manipulate their own. What benefit does it do him to, you know, to open his mouth and say the CIA had everything to do with this dude? You know, it's another DEA agent. At the end of the day, the DEA got his back.
Happens that I consider myself a friend of the Camarena family and Kiki Jr. And I want to ask you, because obviously they have the ability to see the last narc and see what's being alleged in the series. Is there anything you'd like to say to the Camarena family as a result of everything you've gone through as far as this investigation?
First of all, I would like to convey to the Camarena family that I am so sorry for the loss. And I am so sorry that they have been lied to. And I want to tell the Camarena family that everything in the last narc is true. I believe the witnesses, I believe the corroborative evidence that we've been able to collect. And I want them to know that they need to know what really happened to Kiki Camarena. Kiki Camarena is a hero. I hate other people being portrayed as national heroes when they're not. Kiki gave his life for our country. Yet our country betrayed him. And please, I want you, the Camarena family, to please trust me and believe me, because what we have shown in the last narc is true.
Hector, I want to thank you.
And that's one thing we know for sure with the fake, let's say the fake national treasures, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we all know that the American government is not beyond that, you know? Look at Pat Tillman, if you know that story. Just like we said yesterday, or the day before, El Mayo is not a name, a household name like El Chapo is, you know what I'm saying? Chapo's a household name. You ask one person if they know who El Chapo is, they'll tell you, yeah. You ask that same person if they know who El Mayo is, they don't know who you're talking about. There's a lot of people out there that know Pat Tillman and look at him as a poster boy for people that went to the military and fought for our country and died behind enemy lines, right? Ask that same person if they know that he was shot by friendly fire and they can't tell you. You know what I'm saying? So I get what dude's talking about. They're quick to poster boy Kiki Camarena when it's time to be like, yeah, he was a soldier, he was one of us, right? Until they say, but it was the United States government, CIA, Mexican cartels, and the Colombians, and this was a whole conspiracy, and the Contras and the Sandinistas, and this was a whole conspiracy with the Russians and the Cubans too involved. This was a whole conspiracy, a whole operation, a whole big thing that they won't tell you. They won't tell you.
For those obviously heartfelt words to the family, and I want to thank you for joining us today. I want to ask you if you could do me a favor and join us for one more episode where we talk about your upcoming book, right?
Yes, we have put out our book. It's titled The Last Narc. It's available on Amazon.
Oh, wait, we
and
got
I
an audio book
encourage
this.
everybody to read it because it'll give you an idea of how mysteriously our governments work.
Oh, got an
Thank
audio
you so
book, that
much.
one.
And again, for those of you who have not seen,
Yeah, I don't see dude grandstanding. I don't feel like he's there trying to, sell a bag of goods for clout or publicity or make a movie about me and my bloody cornfields. And he told the shit out that story, though. He told it like he got it, like it's in the screenplay already and ready to go. Salute to him. Chuck, you got to call your old homeboys and get Buddy on the show. We're gonna talk to Mr. Bereyes, Hector Bereyes, or Bereyes, or whatever, however it's pronounced. It ain't Bareilles, like dude said. Salute to y'all. Appreciate y'all being here. Thank you to everybody that has walked in, walked out. The revolving door is always open, but please, either on the way in or on the way out, hit that like button. If you have yet to subscribe, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell so that you're notified when we do our thing. I appreciate y'all. We're going to throw some playlist links in the chat right now, in the live chat. Have the infamous Surviving El Chapo with the Flores twins, not to be mistaken with the Gomez twins or El Guapo. Right? We have the Cartel Wives playlist. Copy. Cartel Wives. Boom. Wow. We have the Tragic Death of Zach TV 1. Paste. And we have True Crime. 88 videos in there, less than 4 months old. And it got mad paste. It got mad videos in there of me clowning dumb criminals and ridiculous cops. Chucky said he's on my FB. I can make the call. Cool. Let's hold that off. Let's grow a little bit. Let me get this situated so that we ready to go. So that we not waiting for nothing when he gets here. No scrambling. And I'm gonna call you on that one. And we give it a shot, man. If we miss, we miss. It is what it is. The man seems like he's totally committed to telling his truth. You know what I mean? So I'm with it. Dr. Pantoja said, thank you for another great piece of content, Shael. Salutes to you, brother. We outside. We hanging. Now we got the Discord invite link right here. This Discord is just a couple of us in there right now, but it will grow just like the channel will. Boom. And there it is. There's y'all links, y'all. All right. Hopefully, y'all go through them playlists and we move from there. All right. What else I want to check out in here? That's crazy, man. Just imagine that. It's already tragic enough, you know, a man who feels like he's fighting a noble cause, fighting for this noble cause, just like Pat Tillman, to get taken down in the mix of his own people. He's spinning in his grave, you know what I mean? And if it all is true, for that Jack, whatever his face is, to say, why would you drudge this up for his family again? Don't hide behind his family, especially if you ain't telling him the truth. If you ain't tell his family the truth, shut your ass up. You looking like Bishop and Juice staring at Omar Epps hugging Raheem's sister and shit. You know what I mean? That's what you look like to me. Officer, Mr. Officer. That's absolutely what you look like to me. Let's see what else we got here. No pillow talk. I'm gonna show it one more time because it's funny and it's dope to me. All right, here we go. No pillow talk. All right, no pillow talk. Just keep reminding yourself. It's dangerous. You can't even text people no more, man. People are just in the business. You don't even have to do nothing, and they'll say they're exposing you. It'd be the grocery list. Look what this fool sent me, and they put the text out there, and they just say milk, bread, blunts. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? So make sure y'all hit that Ill Shop link. It's another way to support the channel. The like button is the easiest way to support the channel, so I appreciate it if you hit that bad boy. I think I want to get into this Kiki Camarena. Wait, I don't know if I want to do that one. Let me see. It's kind of long. Be a video. Jonathan said Hector said a bit more on Vlad. Yeah, this was a short, and the reason I picked this one is because it was just a short rundown, a summation of his theory basically. I'll pull up a Vlad interview right now and see if I don't get flagged over here. I'll try to get on Vlad's shit. I need to look into what those allowance lists are and try to get on a couple of those allowance lists. Yeah, but I'll go to one of those right now. Let me see. Check that. Chucky said, good one, Pillow Talk. Make a series out of it. Series out of the pillow covers or a video series about Pillow Talk? You know how much Pillow Talk gets people in trouble? Jesus. People don't even notice they doing it. That was a great episode in The Sopranos. When old man Corrado had the girl he used to take to Boca with him. And she just opened her mouth once. That generation didn't play that shit, man. That generation didn't play that shit, man. That if I speak and then you go and you run your mouth and you say something that I said to you and I get wind of it, I gotta be done with you. You know what I'm saying? Your mouth is too quick. You get slashed. Mouth to ear. You say everything you hear. Now, oh my goodness. I just think about dudes like Lil Wayne fall asleep. Chicks take pictures of them and post it. Like, what kind of world do we live in? You know what I mean? Where you can't even... it's too crazy. Technology, though. Technology continues to evolve. It's the humans that don't. Damn, that sound right there. Fuck around, get me knocked down. Carlos Stanton, older generation never had chicks around biz. Yep. Separate societies. See, now we're in the generation of all you had to do is done all of the shit that you were told not to do back then. Don't sell drugs. Don't hurt nobody. Don't kill nobody. Don't be a criminal. Don't be a dirty cop. All of that shit. 20 years later, after you were suffering for it, now you're famous for it. Now you're doing Vlad interviews. Now you're doing, TV, movies. Nobody talking about the square that made the right decisions. Nobody want to have that conversation. Also said facts, Carlos. That would be a good series. Pillow Talk series? So what would be the premise of the Pillow Talk series? I just look for people in general that ratted themselves out. Self-snitching. The self-snitching series? Is that what we're doing? That's funny. Series on cats who got caught up for Pillow Talk. Wow. Yeah. Y'all would have to keep throwing... If you come across somebody and you say, hey, that works for Pillow Talk, make sure you throw the person's name at me so I can do the research. But it sounds right. Pillow Talk. Like, who could I name right now that got popped off for Pillow Talk. Because it's just one part of it. You know? But you get loose. Like, Pillow Talk could be anything. Also said how that shit gets you popped. You know, same way, just look at how sensitive that situation is. The twins told Musico, out of maybe habit, what Rambo was up to. Didn't have to tell them in detail. Just mention his name, his time, and his space. And that right there ignited something. You better pick a side. Because in dude's mind, just as easily as you told me my enemy just had to pull a mission out here, you could be telling somebody else that I had to pull a mission. And that's Pillow Talk too. You didn't even think about it. You just opened your mouth and said something. Because you felt like you wasn't involved in that shit. Again, if that's how it went down. It was painted that way in the you know, in the book, you know. But yeah, it's all Pillow Talk, man. Sending text messages, sending tweets and shit. I don't know if y'all know about what's dude's name? Was it AR Ab? Nah, was it AR Ab? Let me see. Cause there's a whole video about how many times that dude told on himself. Yeah, AR Ab. He's the king. That's numero uno right there. It's just, it's not on a pillow, it's on camera, but it counts as Pillow Talk. That boy used to tell on himself on a regular basis. Camera was off if he wasn't telling on himself. Chucky said we have to dive deep. Escobar got killed for calling his wife and son. They got his location. See, now that's a strategy move, right? Is that considered Pillow Talk? Is that considered I couldn't hold out on talking to my family? You would think to keep them safe, if it's really what you want to do, you keep yourself away. That's discipline, right? That's the discipline part. The discipline part is I'm not going to call them. I'm not going to risk myself. I'm not going to risk them, right? But then people tell me, oh, but you really don't love nobody, and you don't know what it is to have a family, and this, that, and the other. It's like, nah, but it's just, you let the human in you get you. I get it. We're all human. Yeah, that's a fact, right? But can we tame that for the sake of safety? Could Escobar have said, I'm not going to call nobody. I don't need to know nothing. If I find out, I'm going to find out second, third hand from people that I trust. You know what I'm saying? So all of these little mistakes. Chucky said Caro Quintero got busted through his chick. I don't doubt that in the show he kidnapping motherfuckers. Yeah, that's a nice long list. That's a good video right there. The Pillow Talk series is born. Salutes. The Pillow Talk series is born. Cause look at Chapo. Oh, girl said a couple of sweet things on Twitter. Next thing you know, she was the executive producer, the director, the lead actress, like right away. It's like when DMX told Damien, yeah, it was over some dough, and Damien said, could have swore it was over a hoe. It's almost always over a hoe. Yeah, all right, we on it. We're gonna start with that premise that could you deny the human in you, the love in you, the want to talk to your family, to really, truly, consistently protect yourself and them? Chapo was what we call a tender dick motherfucker. Yeah, man. These tender dicks, man. They out here getting caught in a thirst trap. She thought she was being a humanitarian. Oh, don't worry. I got a shirt coming for the ladies that has something to do with Kate de Castillo. It's a little mix up. I'm going to make sure it's dope before I, put it out there. But Yeah, nah, he got played, man. Sean Penn and Kate de Castillo, they was CIA operatives, as far as I'm concerned. It's funny. Wow, Pillow Talk Mafia. Who else? Who else tweaked calling their family? What up, Goth? Nah, we chilling. Salute Goth Beauty in the chat. We chilling. We did a thing on Hector Bereyes, a DEA agent that claims there was a conspiracy between the CIA, the Contras, and the Mexican cartels, and all that shakeup. Kiki Camarena died in the midst of that, and it was part of that operation, and the CIA denies it. So that's what we've been doing. You got some catching up to do, but do that later. Right now we hanging. I'm looking for more dudes' videos on DJ Vlad, and then we're gonna see if they're gonna kick me off the internet for it real quick. We tempting fate. Didn't Drake's man allegedly pillow talk according to Pusha T? Yeah, I know there was pillow talk allegations in that. I don't think nobody went to jail over it, but yeah, that pillow talking got all his information put on Front Street by Pusha. You know? And he came and he answered to that Duppy freestyle with the story of Adidon. Salutes Goth, Honey's in the chat for you. Bow, 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 bow. There we go. All right. Let me check out what this DJ Vlad is talking about, though. See how long before he want to put me out. How long does he give me before he want to put me out? Let's see. Ew. Oh, members only content? Oh, I'm not a member, son. I don't remember. Here we go. Looking for Hector Bereyes. There he is. Sinaloa's current leader is El Mayo. It's worth 10 bill. Let's see. Why it's impossible for agents to get close to the bosses like Escobar. This is a flashback, I think. Let me see. Look, he's going to break down the Iran-Contra affair. That's the full interview right there. I'm still looking for pieces. Appreciate y'all still being here with me. We about to get to it. We live. This is where the fat is. We cut the fat on the edits, but here, we're keeping it fat. We hanging out. We ain't in no rush. All right, I'm going to go over here to this one right here. Shit, that's part 5. Give me part 1, bro. 7, 3. What's this? Part 8? No, give me 3. Give me 3 and get me closer to part 1. Throw the full interview 2 weeks ago, 5 months ago. Oh, so he got a couple of interviews here. Part 10, 11. I feel like this dude was on Vlad a month ago, and then he was on Vlad this month. He must be one of those new regulars that he puts on the show, like Boosie and he had a couple of other people that he had on there tight a whole bunch of times. Let's see. Look at this playlist. Chapo's sons aren't smart. All right, here we go. Let's go through this first one, see how far we get.
Okay, y'all. Today's gonna be a treat. I have the opportunity to sit with this guy on 2 separate occasions. And on both occasions, he literally blew my mind. He's a wealth of information, so much experience, and he's been involved in so many things that make us question what we know about history itself.
Jonathan said it would be his first appearance, bet, that he would talk about all this, not on his most recent appearance. Okay, makes sense. This seems to be a month ago. Let's see what the other one is. The other one's 5 months ago, bet.
Ready to be an e-commerce
I'm just trying to find like a playlist that has them in order, but he doesn't. Let me see. He did have that one, but let me see if he has this other one. Fucking 5 months ago, you wildin'. Boom. This dude got mad videos, mad playlists. There we go. Vlad is rich. This is July 2023. There you go.
Okay, today's gonna be
Relax.
extremely interesting.
Sean Perez, who you yelling at, bro? Hector Benavides details first kill as a DEA agent. I don't really want to get into his life at the moment. On kidnapping the doctor who helped torture character Kiki Camarena. Yeah, that I want to hear. Freeway Ricky. Yep, that I want to hear. All right, here we go. We're going from part 4. We're going to see how long DJ Vlad lets us go before he sends the trolls after me. The real trolls.
Let's bring this thing back around. So obviously you're great at your job, and I'm sure after that bus, your name is rising through the ranks. I want to segue, if you will, Kiki Camarena. 1980, he gets stationed out in Guadalajara, Mexico. Did you know him before he went to Guadalajara, or did you meet him while working in Mexico?
I met him before he went to Mexico. I knew him when he was stationed in Fresno, California. His assignment before he was shipped to Guadalajara.
What type of man was he?
He was a
Salute to Jonathan. He said it'd be like part 5. Yeah, that's where we're at. We're at part 4.
a very good. He was like me, a great undercover operative, big strong guy. He wasn't a little
So he knew Kiki, huh? That's another level of you know, being it's personal.
guy, kind of muscular, spoke very good English and Spanish, wrote very good reports, had a lot of very effective informants. As a matter of fact, when he was picked up, I was using 2 of his informants on a wiretap operation out of Indio, California. So I'd been talking to Kiki right before he got picked up.
Damn.
And by picked up, you mean kidnapped?
Kidnapped, exactly.
Okay. Wow. Let's go into this Kiki Camarena story, because you're credited for really solving that crime, if you will. So take me kind of to the beginning. Why was Kiki Camarena picked up to begin with?
So far, so good on the YouTube front. We'll see. I'll let you know when they come after me. So bam, he knew dude. They got into the agency a year apart. Crazy comparisons, man.
There are several stories that the government puts out, but here I'm going to tell you the truth.
Huh.
It's undisputable. Nobody can dispute the real truth. Before the Camarena case, I was a shooting star. I thought that I was going to at least retire a deputy or something from the DEA. I was very well recognized and awarded. I was working out of Mexico. They kidnapped Kiki in 85, and until 1990, they really had not solved the case. They knew that the Guadalajara cartel members had kidnapped Kiki. They also knew the involvement of the DFS, which is the Directorate of Federal Security, which is our CIA. Okay, we knew that elements of the.
So there it is, the DFS that we knew, that I thought was a Mexican government operation. Now we know it's just, or now I know it's just another name for the. I knew they were in cahoots with the CIA, but for them to be directly CIA active in Mexico, and that's their, well, they were part of their government, they were part of this government. It's all a big giant chess game. Dirty, rotten scoundrels.
DFS.
Hold on.
That the Guadalajara cartel
Boom.
members.
So Guadalajara cartel, which was Caro Quintero, Felix Gallardo, everybody at that point, you know what I'm saying? The ones that weren't warring with each other. But, so they're implicated, and the DFS is implicated, which is the American CIA.
Had kidnapped Kiki. They also knew the involvement of the DFS, which is the Directorate of Federal Security, which is our CIA. Okay, we knew that elements of the DFS and the cartel members, along with other crooked cops, had kidnapped Kiki. All right, but they never could get eyewitnesses. I mean, people that were there that could walk us through the crime. So they pulled me out of Mexico. And I talked directly to the director of DEA, and he said, Hector, he says, you know Mexico. That's why we're bringing you in. Can you get us a witness that was there, that can tell us why they picked him up, who interrogated him? We really want to know how he died. We want to know all the details of his murder.
What is it? Is it 5 years later? When did it happen? Did it happen in 85? Camarena kidnapping? Was it 1985? Let's see. Camarena year. Yeah, 1985. So he said what, early 90? So about 5 years later, he's still, looking around. The same guy, Felix, Chucky in the Chucky Chingong in the chat. The same guy, Felix Rodriguez, who killed Che Guevara, a CIA guy, was the voice asking questions to Kiki. He says he ran the weapons. CIA guy was the voice asking questions to Kiki. No shit. Same guy, yeah, don't doubt it. It's always the same work. It's like that Cuban dude that was walking around the party the night Robert Kennedy got shot. They were like, CIA operative. There. Shit's crazy. Same guy, Felix Rodriguez, who killed the Che Guevara. CIA guy was the voice asking questions to Kiki. He says he ran the weapons. Let me ask you something, Chucky. Do you know if there's a complete, or is there just pieces of that interrogation out there? Yeah, Chucky the Cuban. Probably the same fucking Cuban with his daddy or something. Wow. It's like it's just too deep.
You would do that for me. And I said, I believe I can. However, I'm going to need a big informant budget, and I'm going to need the cooperation of INS. He says, what do you mean? What do we need INS for? Immigration Service.
And for the record, what is INS?
The Immigration Service. Immigration and
Naturalization
Service, INS. So he says, why do we need the INS? And I said, because if I'm going to bring any witnesses to Kiki's murder, we're going to have to bring their whole family into the United States. Because the first time that we bring a witness and he testifies and is identified, his whole family is going to get killed by the cartels. He says, we get the cooperation of INS to bring not only the witness, but his whole family across? to protect him. He said, I think I can do that. And I said, fine. Then I will get you witnesses. And he said, okay. Then he said, I have another question. He said, could you kidnap somebody from Mexico for me? And I said, can I kidnap somebody? He said, yes. I'd like to have one of the perpetrators that we know, a doctor that injected drugs into Camarena. Can you get him kidnapped over here? And I said, of course. He says, you can? And I said, yes. I need about $250,000 and I can.
Don't ask me for some shit, and then when I can guarantee it, you want to tell me for real? Hey, bro, you asked for it.
Get anybody kidnapped. I can even get the president of Mexico kidnapped if you want. He said, are you serious? And I said, I'm dead serious. He said, okay, we'll get you the money. You kidnap that doctor for us, okay? I said, okay, I will. So it took me about.
Are you sick of having issues with your webinars, wasting tons of time on
Shut your
troubleshooting
face.
with attendees?
About 3 weeks, and I had the doctor kidnapped. And I said, okay, I will. Okay, we'll get you the money. You kidnap that doctor for us, okay? I said, okay, I will. So it took me about 3 weeks, and I had the doctor kidnapped and brought back to the United States. Dr. Humberto Alvarez Machine, who was a doctor that injected lidocaine and different drugs into Kiki to keep him alive when he was being interrogated, Sean, because the body, when it experiencing a lot of pain, it shuts down to avoid feeling the pain. And so they brought the doctor in to inject him with lidocaine right into his heart. So when Kiki went unconscious, he would inject the lidocaine and bring him back to conscious.
Listen, man, there's a whole populace of the people that don't know that people like that exist, that are so deer in headlights and so dead to the ills of the world and the evils that they can't even imagine. They can imagine it on television in a movie right next to a zombie flick. You know what I'm saying? But they just can't imagine a dude that's willing to pump lidocaine into somebody's heart to keep them alive so that they could torture them and ask them more questions. And to me, the difference between understanding the world and not understanding the world is knowing that that motherfucker exists. And there's a motherfucker worse than him. And a motherfucker worse than them. And, you know what I'm saying? It just goes on and goes on and goes on. So far, so good. We ain't getting smashed with a copyright. We keep it moving.
Consciousness where they could continue interrogating him. So I did. And it was a little time. I was able to not bring one witness that was percipient at the scene where Kiki was interrogated. I brought 3 of them. 3 pistoleros, gunmen that worked for the cartels that were there that could tell us everything that Kiki was asked and who interrogated him.
Okay, I want to go backwards because you just shared a lot with us, and I want to break this thing down for everybody who's watching this. First and foremost, the narrative has been put out there that Kiki was originally abducted because he was behind the burning of a marijuana field that was producing something like $8 billion worth of marijuana annually. Are you saying that was a false narrative?
Partly false because Kiki did not participate in the raids. He didn't participate in the burning down. You're talking about the Buffalo Fields, Buffalo Chihuahua Fields, where the cartels had enslaved 7,000 peasants to work in the marijuana fields there. It was a huge.
Now, how much of what he just said is him saying his part for the good guys? They enslaved. Were these people paid or were they enslaved? Either way, man, it's filthy. It's filthy. But I thought that's what it was too. That field, I don't know. I believe the picture was real. The picture of him smoking a cigar with a big old stalk of bud that they had cut down from that field, talking about Kiki. I thought that's what it was, that pissed off Caro Quintado and all the, you know, that put him on their radar as far as, you know, his name and who he was personally.
Marijuana plantation. Kiki's involvement in that was that they needed, meaning the Hermosillo DA office in Mexico City, needed a pilot to fly over before they raided it to ensure and photograph the fields, which was a pilot informant that Kiki had by the name of Alfredo Zavala. So they contacted Kiki and they said, could you have Alfredo fly over the fields and photograph him to ensure that basically what our informants are telling us that the fields are there. Alfredo Zavala flew over those fields, filmed them, brought the film back to Kiki. Kiki then took the film to Guadalajara. That was Kiki's involvement in the case. But the Hermosillo DEA agents and the Mexican Army, along with agents of the DEA of Mexico City, they raided Buffalo. Kiki had nothing to do with the raids.
Okay. So they told that totally different on Narcs Mexico. On Narcs Mexico, they said that Kiki just noticed work happening and going that way. Work was going, people going that way. He would try to get information on it. He sent to get some pictures. They sent him pictures. They thought that was recent. It was over a year old. He went, he got in the work line. He ended up working the field. So they made a whole Hollywood spectacle out of that. From what he's saying is Kiki was just a part of that whole thing. Agents and the Mexican Army, along with agents of the DEA of Mexico City, they raided Buffalo. Kiki had nothing to do with the raids. Okay, but he had something to do with finding the field, though. So he was part of that case. Jonathan in the chat said, yeah, we Americans pump our chests out like we're the heroes of the world. It's so foul and wild. Yeah, dog, we just like them. The America's Jerome Finnegan.
Okay, so the narrative that we have all come to know that he was, this was his operation. He was.
I'm getting a warning in the chat and error. Y'all let me know if anything looks different or bad or whatever. It's not a copyright warning. It's a stream warning. Something about, I don't know. Y'all let me know if it looks bad though.
Behind it, he participated. So the narrative that we have all come to know that he was, this was his operation. He was behind it. He participated in the raid. That's untrue.
That is not true.
Okay.
Kiki had raided another field a year before. He had raided one of Caro Quintero's fields in Fresnillo, Zacatecas. Now that one he participated in, and that was his case. And that, he was the case agent on that, meaning that was.
And that must have been the one that he took the picture smoking the cigar with the stalk of bud. Jonathan said that discrepancy is why he didn't take his story to Netflix. Netflix wanted to make things like Hollywood. Yeah. I can see sometimes where they have to, and then sometimes I can see where they're doing too much. They need to sit their ass down. They don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? So who ended up with it? So he went to Amazon with it. Okay, that makes sense. So he's basically, I believe him. I believe that's what happened.
But the Buffalo field, now that one he participated in, and that was his case. And that, he was the case agent on that, meaning that was his case. But the Buffalo field, the big ones, Kiki did not participate in those raids.
Okay, you were brought over to solve this crime. You mentioned you were given a budget. And I'm not speaking about the budget to abduct the doctor. How large was your budget for informants and just running this operation annually?
$3 million a year.
Damn.
$3 million a year.
Yes, sir.
How did you use that money?
I used it to recruit Mexican federal prosecutors as informants. I recruited Army generals as informants. I recruited federal agents, Mexican federal agents as informants. I recruited homicide detectives as informants. I had a huge informant base that was giving me information.
On average, how much does an informant go for at that time? We're talking the late 80s, mid 80s, late to late 80s, correct?
Back then, the informant that I had at Los Pinos, which is Mexico's White House, the prosecutors that I had on payroll there, I was paying them $10,000 every month.
Damn. Every month.
Every month. Army generals, I would pay about $5,000 a month.
Okay, so I gotta ask the obvious question. Is there anybody in Mexico then or now that can't be bought?
No. The Mexican police are all on the take. I hired them to do a lot of crazy stuff for me. As the drug dealers buy them to do illegal stuff, murders for them, I would buy them to kidnap people like I had the doctor kidnap.
So they're just a tool. Police is just a tool out there, man. You throw them the right price. I was watching Narcos Mexico. Chapo went to jail and Neto told him, see that guy right there, he thinks he's tough, but he'll let you shit in his mother's mouth for the right price. I guess that's what it is. You know what I mean? I guess anything goes. America's so different. These American cops, even the ones on the take, they think they're fighting some amazing battle and shit. Like, come on, bro. Let me see. See this Freeway Ricky, Iran Contra affair.
Let's stick with the doctor for a second. I know you said the doctor was brought in to give Kiki lidocaine to make sure he did not pass out. Why were they interrogating him to begin with?
Kiki was picked up because he had found out that Caro Quintero was receiving a lot of cocaine at a ranch in Veracruz, Mexico. What Kiki did not know is that that ranch was being used by our CIA to train Contras. The CIA was working with the cartels not only to get their assistance in transporting weapons south to the Contras, they were also getting drugs from the cartels, which they were bringing into the United States to support the Contras war in Nicaragua. Now, let me explain to you what was going on back then. Back at that juncture, back in 1978-79, the Daniel Ortega Communist Organization overthrew the Somoza government in Nicaragua. The CIA and our DIA military people went to Congress and requested funding to support the Contras war against the communist Daniel Ortega regime.
Absolutely.
We had just come out of Vietnam, Sean, and Congress says, no, we're not going to get involved in another war in South America. No, we're not going to fund the war in Nicaragua. So what does the CIA do? They decide they're going to fund the war with drug money. So they become partners with not only the Guadalajara drug cartel at the time.
So how are they different, right? Just scale is the only difference. How are they different than anybody who fall on hard times and decide they got to do what they got to do? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
They also become partners with Pablo Escobar. So they're getting money now from Pablo Escobar and Guadalajara cartel to fund the war. That was one of the ways they were getting money to the Contras. Another way was they also sold, as you know, Iran-Contra the missiles to Iran, using the Mossad as cover to sell the missiles. And the money they were getting, they were then using to support this illegal war in Nicaragua. Now, getting back to the Veracruz ranch, Sean, the Veracruz ranch was very important to the CIA because that ranch had a very large airstrip. And Caro Quintero was using that airstrip, obviously, to bring in big planeloads of cocaine. So they actually rented the ranch from Caro Quintero to train Contras there. And it was strategically located because they could fly the weapons.
So it's like when these big drug lords that had these big ranchos that was being used by the DFS, the DIA, the CIA. When they'd come shut these dudes down and arrest these dudes, it's their boys coming to get them, coming to arrest them. You know what I'm saying? It's all of a circle jerk of law enforcement and criminals spinning the world's wheels. Oso said they're not. That's why they ain't shit. They aren't different from the guy that fell on hard times. They fell on hard times. They had a war to win. They did what they had to do. And then they hung somebody out there to dry and said this hid behind this person, that person, and it is what it is. We keep moving forward. They write the history however they want to write it. It is what it is.
Going to the Contras from Veracruz directly into Ilipango, El Salvador, where they were arming the Contras with those weapons. And it also helped them because any cocaine they were bringing in from Colombia and South America would be flown from South America to Veracruz, where the military planes will refuel and then continue bringing in the cocaine into different parts of the United States. At the time that this was going on, you had generals like Petraeus and Lieutenant Colonel, I forget his, Stevens, or I forget anyway. They were all there training Contras. Okay, this is no secret. Okay, but they were basically selling the drugs to a black violator by the name of Freeway Ricky Ross at Los Angeles. Now, I knew about Ricky Ross because I had worked in Los Angeles. And Ricky Ross basically was being provided the drugs by two Contra generals or Contra officials by the name of Danilo Blandón and Edwin Meneses. Danilo Blandón owned car lots and everything else in the Los Angeles area. Freeway Ricky Ross.
So don't be surprised, people. That family member, that friend, that hustler, just like I said, the wild ones that seem to get away with everything. I said don't be surprised that they on some paperwork somewhere, right? But you never know who's the CIA. Your local car dealer, your local barbershop owner. You don't know who's in the CIA, man. Your local hustler. You have no clue.
Was then inundating the South Central area with cheap crack cocaine. He was providing the Bloods and the Crips with, like I said, very cheap crack cocaine. They caused the cocaine epidemic of the 80s. So now you have a lot of black people, a lot of Hispanics, and Puerto barrios all getting high on crack cocaine.
Again, an epidemic, the crack epidemic. But if you ask some of these guys, America didn't have nothing to do with that. Ruha, America. Come on, man. Stop it. Oso said it best. The federal government is the biggest cartel in the world. Ain't but one world that we know of. Or that we know of.
And it was being kept secret that it was being provided by these two Contra officials to Freeway Ricky Ross. That's the story. Now, now let's go back to Kiki.
Now, and then for those that don't know, Rick Ross went to jail. Blandón, his CIA operative and his plug at the time, got him locked up. He got out. He got locked up again. Blandón, he was clean. The same guy came and tried to put him up on game for something else, and he got popped off. He went to prison. He thought he had a life sentence. He didn't know how to read. He taught himself how to read. He found a loophole in his case, a 3 strikes loophole in his case, and he got himself out of prison. He's free now, making legitimate money. He accuses John Singleton in his production of allegedly stealing his story and using it for Snowfall. That he was supposed to be involved in that, and they cut him out of that and did what they wanted to do. But takes a different kind of dude to learn how to read, find a loophole, and get himself out of prison. Bananas.
Kiki Camarena in 85 had found out that at Caro Quintero's ranch, tons of cocaine were being brought through that ranch. He found out. He basically let people know in the government that he was opening up an investigation on that. Kiki Camarena
So Kiki found out they're running coke through the same place that the CIA is training Contras. That's bananas.
knowing, Sean, he didn't know anything about the Contras. He didn't know they were training people there. He knew nothing about that. He was going to open up an investigation, so therefore he was kidnapped to be interrogated, not to be killed. That's why Kiki Camarena was bandaged. He was blindfolded. They had planned to find out what he knew, and depending on what he knew, they might let him go. So when they picked him up, elements of the DFS picked him up, Directorate of Federal Security, which is Mexico CIA, who works under the aegis of our CIA. Okay? So therefore, they pick Kiki up, they blindfold him, and they interrogated him. And they start asking him questions about what he knew about the CIA, what he knew about the Contras, and Kiki's telling him, it's on tapes. I heard the tapes. I know nothing about that. I know nothing about Mexican government officials being corrupt. But what has been kept secret is that one of the interrogators was Ismael Felix Rodriguez, a Cuban CIA operative. That's where I crashed, because I wanted to have that guy arrested for Kiki's murder, and they said that no, that I did not have the jurisdiction to investigate the CIA, that I should stay investigating the Mexican cartel leaders.
So Kiki was doing his job. He's a DEA officer. He knows they're pushing powder through this place. He wants to go hit this place. They snatch him up. And it ain't just cartel people that got him locked up in there, and they're torturing him and doing whatever they're doing to him. Boom. Like Chucky said, boom. Is a CIA agent in on it. An American CIA agent in on the interrogation, on the tapes. And Kiki walked himself into a whole world game of chess right there. And they were scrambling.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is late 80s. Ronald Reagan's the president, correct?
Part of the time, but most of the time it was old man Bush.
It was old man Bush.
Yes, because
Who was, if I'm not mistaken, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, who was the director of the CIA, but claims that he never was. But it is known.
remember, he had been director of the CIA before that.
Exactly.
Then vice president, then president. So he had his hands all over this thing.
Okay, where do I want to pick this thing apart? Let's go to Kiki Camarena's interrogation. You answered a question that I was going to ask. They brought him in, and it was originally supposed to be an interrogation, but it turned out to be a torture and a killing. Why and how did it go so far?
Because they knew that Kiki knew about them bringing in the cocaine at that ranch. They knew because they asked him, and it's right on the tapes, Sean. I heard the tapes. We have transcripts of the tapes. Anybody can view the tapes. They asked Camarena, what do you know about Veracruz Ranch? And Kiki answers, I know that Caro Quintero is bringing in tons of cocaine to that ranch. And they even ask him, how do you know? How did you get this information? Who's your informant? Who's telling you this? And he said, Comandante Lorabacchio has wiretaps on Caro Quintero's phones. He has been listening to communications between the ranch and Caro Quintero, and he's the one that told me that Caro Quintero was bringing in a lot of cocaine through that or to that ranch.
Wait, who did he say?
Communications has wire, and he said, Comandante Lorabacchio has wiretaps on Caro Quintero's phones. He has been listening to communications between the ranch and Caro Quintero, and he's the one that told me that Caro Quintero was bringing in a lot of cocaine through that or to that ranch from South America.
I don't recognize that name or who he's talking about right there.
That's all I know. And they said, no, you know more. You got to know more. And they kept interrogating him. and one of the interrogators was an expert in interrogation, Ismael Felix Rodriguez, a CIA operative.
He don't like that guy. Wow. Kiki spinning in his grave, boy. Jonathan in the chat said, that's why I said yesterday, I believe that I feel Chapo was just like a placeholder and Mayo is the real leader, but the government's trying to control the narrative. Absolutely. For all we know, yeah. Again, the government should have been on yesterday's poll. the CIA should have been, per Oso's suggestion, the CIA should have been on that poll, because this guy goes, and again, he's giving them the answers that he had, and it's not good enough. They want something more. Let me see if there's anything else on this. He got some Chapo stuff. Well, we'll keep going because he got the Mayo's worth 10 here. Let's go straight to Chapo was never the cartel boss. They made him bigger than what he was.
So what would be the motivation for somebody like Raphael to get back in the business?
He just liked being a drug lord. He loved that lifestyle. He wanted the respect and wanted to be a drug lord again. You know, that's all it was. He didn't need the money.
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong. The U.S. government, didn't they put out a $20 million reward for his capture?
It's still outstanding to this day, yes.
Oh man!
But if he's behind bars, how come he hasn't been extradited?
Because the Mexican government will not extradite him. They won't extradite him over here. We've asked.
Talking about Quintero?
Was there a difference between him and El Chapo? Because obviously the Mexican government worked closely with the U.S. government to bring El Chapo here. Why are the rules different for Rafael Quintero?
Because El Chapo was never really he was never ahead of anything. El Chapo was a very prolific dealer, but he was never in charge of the Sinaloa cartel or nothing. El Chapo and El Güero Palma were just factions of the old Guadalajara cartel. Actually, they made Chapo bigger than what he is. He wasn't a major cartel boss, where Carlos Quintero was a boss.
Okay, so let's stop there. Again, I'm only going with the narrative that we hear every day in the media.
Listen, and he said it, the media. Don't get it twisted. The media is in the business of making things not what they seem. You could look at something as like the East versus West hip hop wars. That was something that the media made up. I remember watching a movie called man, what the hell is the name of this movie? I forget the lady's name. It's just like the perp walk in the media. They throw you in slow motion with the handcuffs on, and you raise your handcuffs in slow motion, and they demonize these figures. You know what I'm saying? And it's easy for the media to do that. Nobody sent out a memo and said Chapo's that dude. No, but us in America, we didn't know nothing about him until we knew something about him. And how do we know something about him? On TV. Them pushing his image, pushing who he is, saying that that's all it takes for them to say that, to get the world to say he's the guy, is just them putting it out. Shout out Think Like a Kingpin in the chat, Hunt is up. Also say USA, the puppet master of the world. Exactly. So it's nothing for the media machine to make something bigger than what it really is. You know what I'm saying? This guy's an idiot. Think Like Kingpin said better. Yes, he's an idiot.
We were under,
and that's another question I ask. If it's not Chapo, is it El Mayo? And if it's not El Mayo, is it somebody else? Like, who's the guy? Is it a collective? Again, the poll should have had the CIA on it. To me, it's the CIA, if you ask me.
Assumption, or we have been told that El Chapo was the boss of the Sinaloa cartel.
No.
That's not correct?
That's not correct. The boss of the Sinaloa cartel has always been Ismael Zambada, El Mayo, Ismael El Mayo Zambada. They call him El Mayo. He has always been and continues to be.
And again, just like everybody else, just like Sammy the Bull says, slick shit to minimize people. It's in the DEA's best interest to minimize Chapo. We got him. But, well, maybe not, though, because, like, well, so if you're calling him a chump, then you got you a chump, then you didn't do nothing. You know what I mean? So they got to make it make sense. Shout out Vernon Himes in the chat. Thumbs up. 100. Salutes to you. Appreciate you. I'm sure you hit the like button. Thank you very much. For those that it slipped their mind, please hit the like button. Appreciate y'all being here. We hanging out.
The head of the Sinaloa cartel. Chapo worked underneath him. That's a fact.
Okay, so why does Chapo get credit for being the boss?
He was a lower boss, but he was, I don't know why people make him to be the boss. He was never the boss. Anybody that knows cartels, like I know them, will tell you he was never a main boss. As a matter of fact, Chapo is not that bright. He's only got like a third grade education. He's kind of really not considered to be very smart.
How violent was he back in the day?
I mean, saying smart and being the boss, two different things. Robbie and Serrano, a strong duo. Said stream ending. End the stream. Why should I? Who are you? What are you? I remember you. You came in here before one time and you wanted me to look at a link of some cartoon and show it to my audience. But why should I end the stream? You run shit over here? I doubt it. Think Like a Kingpin in the chat said government had more info on the Sinaloa cartel than ever. They spent $50 million on his trial. He was no bum. He was definitely a boss. Absolutely. I agree. So we're going to have to get you out of here, Ravi and Serrano. So you get the blessing of being the first banned account from the chat because you come in here and you tell me to end the stream, and you also come in here and you promote videos that have nothing to do with nothing. Hey, that was my brother. He just wasn't a fan of you. This is the real me. Well, it could be true, but it could also be bullshit. So let me see what I can do about you. Let's see if I can put you on a timeout. Yeah, we'll put you on a 24-hour timeout. So take this little spanking. Wait, I want to see what he says. For that was my brother. This is the real me. That's cool. Whether it was your brother, you could blame your brother for this 24-hour ban, and hopefully you come back tomorrow and you enjoy the show. But as for today, take this time out. Go and sit your ass in the corner. There you go. Chuck E. Cheese gonna say acting a fool. Go ahead, sit your ass in the corner and reflect on your brother's, decisions. And we'll go on without you. We were doing fine without you anyway. Back to what Think Like Kingpin said. Chucky said, set the example, Shy. Yeah, we're not, and I'm nice. I got friends on YouTube that are not as nice. But you go and sit your ass down for 24 hours. Because you ain't going to be telling me to end the stream. And if your brother's not a fan, tell him to fuck off to another room. Think Like Kingpin said, government had more info on the Sinaloa cartel than ever. They spent $50 million on his trial. He was no bum. He was definitely a boss. Agreed. Vernon Heim said, get your ass in the corner. Yeah, go sit your ass in the corner. Put this blindfold on, sit in the corner, and let the boys cattle prod you for a little while. Yeah, they spent a lot but he was definitely a boss. The question we've been posing, because these guys keep saying things like this, and again, it's easy to minimize somebody after you got him. You know what I'm saying? After you popped them already and say, he was nobody. Which I don't see how that makes sense. You guys should be wanting to take credit for getting the big guy. But if you got a guy that wasn't that smart, then what are you saying about yourself? It just seems like they're kicking their own ass. And he's not the first person I heard bring up this Mayo argument. You know what I mean? That Chaparro guy does it too.
Chapo was respected and feared because he was an executioner for Fonseca. He was the kind of guy that would be used to kill people, bury them, and stuff like that. He worked with three brothers that were called Los Dormidos. They called them the sleepers, because when they wanted to kill somebody, they would get Chapo and the Dormidos to go execute the guy and then go bury him. As a matter of fact, El Chapo and the Dormidos were the ones that unburied Camarena, okay, when we put pressure on the Mexican government, when they threw him over there at the ranch where we found him. It was El Chapo and the Dormidos that actually unearthed the body.
Really?
A lot of people don't know that. I know.
How do you know that? I want to know.
Know it? It's been
No,
documented.
this is the first I'm hearing of this.
You know, another thing, Sean, that bothered me too is when El Chapo was arrested, how come they didn't charge him with the Camarena murders? He was there.
You tell me.
I don't know.
What?
I didn't indict him back then because I told you I didn't know his real name. I just knew him as El Chapo, but I couldn't get an indictment on a nickname, so I couldn't indict him. Later, when it was proven to be, who he is,
What did he say he couldn't
Chapo,
indict
I told
him?
you.
You tell me.
I don't know.
What?
There.
Then like Kingpin said, Mayo definitely a boss right now, but there were a number of different people at the top. Rafa was irrelevant in 2015. I agree with that. By 2015, it was like, Rafa, who's listening to you? Make your money, do whatever you're going to do, but I don't know. I didn't see the juice or the power in that, especially when you coming from out of prison or in prison or whatever it was.
You tell me.
I don't know.
What?
I didn't indict. Chapo was arrested. How come they didn't charge him with? The other thing, Sean, that bothered me too is when El Chapo was arrested. How come they didn't charge him with the Camarena murders? He was there.
You tell me.
I don't know.
What?
I didn't indict him back then because I told you I didn't know his real name. I just knew him as El Chapo, but I couldn't get an indictment on a nickname, so I couldn't indict him. Later, when it was proven to be, who he is, whatever his name is, I can't think of his name right now, but Guzman Loera, Ismael Guzman Loera, now they've indicted him and everything else, but only for drug trafficking. Why was he not charged with Kiki's murder? He was up to his butt involved in that stuff. Not only interrogating Kiki and torturing him, burying him, and also bringing him out of the hole months later when we put pressure that we needed to find Kiki's body. He was one of the guys that dumped the bodies over there in Michoacan where we found them. The government knows this.
This story runs, literally, this runs so deep. It's almost unbelievable. If it was not coming from your mouth, from somebody who was there and worked on this thing night and day, it would almost seem like a Hollywood script.
You know, Sean, who are the victims? We are the victims. Look at all the crack cocaine babies. Look at all the people that got hooked up on crack cocaine back then. Look at all the people that were arrested.
The government ain't gonna take no accountability for that. Never, not this government. But those that know, we know. We know what they are. America's a crackhead. I mean, think like Kingpin said, it's the end of the chase. The reward doesn't feel as satisfying. Absolutely. Yeah. They just got to keep talking. El Mayo just came into power after Arellanos. I think before it was Amado Castillo. First name unknown, last name unknown. I've seen it. Yes, you can. It's FNU. The indictments on first name unknown, last name unknown. Well, there you go. You called his bluff.
Because they got him with not even an ounce of that crap. When the CIA was bringing in tons. That's what upsets me, and that's what set me off. And I said, I can't be part of this. I felt like I had a conscience here. I had to tell the truth. And Sean, I couldn't tell the truth for a long time because I had that warrant outstanding in Mexico where I was threatened. I said, if you put this stuff out, you're going to find yourself in a Mexican prison. So, and like I said, I'm sitting here. If I'm lying, then prove me wrong. If you're saying that Felix Rodriguez did not interrogate Kiki Camarena, then bring a couple of witnesses that will say that the witnesses that I produced are lying. But they can't. They just say, "Oh, that's not true. It's a conspiracy thing." I say to them, well, prove me wrong. Bring me 2 or 3 guys that were also there. There was a lot of people there when Kiki was being tortured to say that Rodriguez wasn't there. They don't do it. Well, Rodriguez says that he was doing something else. He's a CIA operative. They could make up anything. They could put him in Africa at that time if they
Best
wanted.
liars in the world.
I mean, come on. If this is all, if this is all figment of my imagination, then why did I testify before Congress? Why have I, if I'm crazy or whatever, which they've even said that I'm crazy to come up with this kind of stuff. Okay, then why was I permitted to basically testify before major congressional hearings in Washington?
And I don't understand what everybody's in an uproar about anyway. It just makes too much sense that if there is the Contras versus the Sandinistas, Congress just shut down your money. You need the Contras to beat the Sandinistas, which Intel helps you beat the Cubans and the Russians. And America goes out the way as a known fact to sell powder in America, and Rick Ross get rich off of it, right? And there's this giant field where the CIA trains the Contras, and at the same time there's dope running through there to Colombia, because these guys got to get guns, got to get money, got to get dope and all of this. And then this one little guy, this little DEA agent, how strange is it that this one little DEA agent gets caught up in the mix of all of that shit? You know what I'm saying? It's not strange at all as far as I'm concerned. All of it was happening at the same time. That's like saying all of the assassinations between 1959 and 1969, weren't related to one another. You know what I mean? Like, nah, man, the CIA was out there doing their thing. All these DFSs, CIAs, and all these intelligence agencies that ain't got to live up to nobody's laws. You know what I mean? Shit's crazy. Bananas. I want to listen to the tapes. You know what I'm saying? I want to listen to the Kiki Camarena tapes. I'm going to look for those in their entirety and see what that do. Shit. And to me, it doesn't matter who was in charge, who wasn't in charge. At the end of the day, it's a revolving door of people using prison and using government and using the people all against each other and just conjuring up all this. So who was the boss don't matter, because there was 5-6 bosses and they were all fighting there was, if Mayo was number one, there's a guy on the other side of town that thought he was nothing. You know what I mean? Carlos Stanton said population control. On the Freeway movie, they say let them kill each other in the bad neighborhoods. They said that in The Godfathers. It's an infamia. You know what I'm saying? They did it there too. The Freeway movie. But which movie? They got a Freeway Ricky Ross movie? I don't think he did that yet. Wow. Kiki spinning his grave. That dude, he gave him all his answers and didn't know what else to say to him. There was nothing left to say to him. He would have made up shit. They'd have smoked him anyway. He was there to get smoked. Salute to y'all. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me. We've been here 2.5 hours already. I think we're going to jump into a Cartel Wives. I appreciate y'all being here. We hanging out. I'll get some Cartel Wives in. That way I can edit those out and get those out on the street. And this weekend, I'm probably going to do one live, and the rest I'll be working on, videos behind the scenes to make sure that we don't get shut down and copyright shut down. It's called Freeway from the 90s. That's the one where he had the dreads or the braids, right? It was a documentary, I believe. Or is it a movie? Because if it's a movie, I don't think I've seen it. Let me look up a trailer right here. Freeway movie. Think like Kingpin said, Mexico's a major CIA base of operations. Yeah, I believe it, man. And I believe they got their hands in 99.9999% of American history since their inception. Not much of the good. Oh shit, it's Kiefer Sutherland. I see it. And the forehead, what's her face? Reese Witherspoon. She was hot though, little forehead. Freeway. Damn, I have to check that out. So I want to do a movie reaction channel. I got one lined up. I just got to get the right editor on board, and that way, that's not a big undertaking of editing on me. So it's probably the wrong movie then. Chucky said a movie would do from South Central. OG Bobby Johnson, good actor. That's Glenn Plummer. Jonathan said we got to stay free because they won't let us out. Absolutely. No, not that one. I'll find it. Let me see. No, that's Reese Witherspoon's forehead ass. She was hot though. Bullet. Joyride. Chucky, I'm gonna give you a wrench just so you could if you find it, you could drop the link in the chat. Let me see how this works. Boom. Bad, you got you a wrench. You could just drop the 100 kilos. Okay, cool. Let me look that up. $100 kilos. Glenn Plummer, there it is. They got the whole movie right here. Definitely don't want to get smashed for this copyright, but just let me take a look. Now, Chucky, is this premise based on Freeway Rick Ross? The rise and fall of the Freeway Boys. This group of men sold millions of dollars of drugs in South Central. I'm gonna have to check this out. So I want to do a movie reaction channel because if that's content, I feel like it's a waste if I'm watching a movie and I'm not recording myself doing it. I figured out why people are drawn to those videos and those channels. Basically, you know, you watch something, you enjoy something, you want to tell your friends about you want them to watch it, you're interested in the reaction, you're hoping they like it. With these movie reaction channels, it's like, I get it now. You turn on this movie like, oh shit, let me see if all the moments that got me got this person. You know what I mean? So I think that's dope. So I'd like to watch flicks like this, but I gotta and put them on video. But I gotta get a good editor that could take some of the load because I don't want to be editing everything. It's too much. It's already too much. All right. Let's see. We got Buddy out of here. Whatever. Here's my little brother. That's not my problem. Don't come in here talking shit. All right, let's do it, man. We're gonna hit Cartel Wives. I believe it's chapter 26. She gonna lie and say it's like 23 or something, but we know what it is. Again, appreciation to y'all. Thank you for hitting the like button. Appreciate y'all being there. For those that don't know, we have the shop with all our new merch right there at the top. Link pinned to the top of the chat. We got our new Pillow Talk pillowcase covers, which through Chucky Chingong and Oso have inspired a new segment on the show that'll be called Pillow Talk, where we find famous Pillow Talk cases that got people popped off. Right? But there you go. Got the red O with the slash through it. That means no Pillow Talk. Right? Boom. So make sure y'all go check that out amongst all the other things we got on there. And now we're going to get to Cartel Wives, chapter 26. Salutes Felix Reyes in the chat. Appreciate you being here, sir. Thank you very much. Let's make sure we don't got no outstanding messages. All right, we good. And here, let me change this here. Boom. No, wrong one. There we go. here. Wives. And up. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all for being here with me. Hit the like button if you have yet to. Hit the subscribe if you have yet to hit it. Hit the notification bell so we can keep you abreast of what's popping around here. We are jumping into Cartel Wives Chapter 26. And let's get it. Cartel Wives Chapter 26.
Part 5. Purgatory. Chapter 24. Chicago. Olivia. Christmas 2008 was our first without Junior and Peter, and it was the most depressing of my whole life. My parents were still disappointed and hurt, but they loved me no matter what. Holidays and being together meant everything to them, but Mia and I were too worried about being in the city, so we decided to spend the day alone in my big, quiet house in the suburbs. The most I did to decorate was go to Walmart and buy a plastic tree that I put up on a side table, with a few glass balls that I'd found right at the checkout aisle. We didn't hear from Junior or Peter, and we had no clue when we'd get to see them. Brandon's birthday had been a few days before Christmas, and he'd kept asking, "Where's Daddy? Why isn't he here for my birthday?" He spent most days hiding under Benjamin's bassinet, holding his blankie and sobbing for Junior. I tried to be strong for him, but sometimes I couldn't hold it together. As tears rolled down my face, I'd just turn off the lights so he wouldn't see me. If you thought I was bad, Mia was worse. Bella was colicky, and she would cry all day, every day. Mia finally gave up trying to be strong around her, so she'd just sit and sob right along with her.
Mia. I'd hold Bella all day and night trying to soothe her, but it didn't help. I bought a sound machine, but still nothing. I remember thinking, I'm just glad Bella's too young to remember this. She and Benjamin will never know how bad this is.
Olivia. I'm totally OCD when it comes to cleaning, but that December, I didn't give a shit about anything. I'd roll Benjamin's dirty diaper in a ball and just throw it on the floor. Then I'd walk outside in the middle of the night in the freezing cold just to get away. Mia and I felt guilty for the little we did have, and after hearing through our lawyers that Junior and Peter were in jail, starving and freezing cold, we started taking cold showers as some sort of punishment.
They was on some
Mia.
They was on some solidarity shit. We're gonna take this cold shower for these fools. Man. Well, you made it across the border. That depression done kicked in though. Got you throwing shitty diapers on the floor.
I talked to my mom every day, and she'd always beg to come over. Finally, I let her, and she was shocked when she arrived. The house was a mess, and we were worse. "What are you thinking?" she said. "Snap out of it. Your babies need you." But I felt stuck. Olivia and I were too depressed to do anything but just exist.
Olivia. We didn't hear from Junior and Peter till after New Year's, when we were allowed our first visit. We were about as excited as we'd been on our wedding days, but getting to the federal building where they'd been transported was a total scene. We had to drive downtown, practically to the center of the loop, and we packed everything: diaper bags full of wipes, bottles, and formula, a change of clothes for the kids, and bags of snacks. It was like we were going on a freaking field trip.
Now, last episode we heard about how the women did not take the witness protection, right? I wonder, when they spoke to them, how that conversation went between them and their husbands about that decision. Because it's pretty risky. I mean, they're going into the heart of downtown Chicago to go to this trial, you know what I'm saying? If that's what I'm hearing right now. And they don't have no protection as far as, the government's concerned.
Our armed guards drove us downtown into an underground parking deck, And when we stepped out of the cars, we were met by U.S. Attorney Tom, Assistant U.S. Attorney Mike, and Eric from the DEA. As Mia and I lifted the kids out of the cars and loaded them and all our stuff into our huge Orbit strollers, we must have looked like we were ready for a week-long trip because the agents all stared at us like, "What the hell?" I didn't care. I was about to see my husband.
Mia. We got into a back serviced elevator, since the main elevator was used to transport prisoners to court, and we couldn't risk being seen. When we got off, we walked into a room that had 2 long windows on each side of the door. It looked like a conference room in a regular old office building. We stood inside, waiting for them, with Brandon holding Olivia's hand, so excited that he was jumping up and down. I'd taken a million pictures of Bella and had written to Peter almost every day. I never wanted him to feel like he was missing out, so I hoped that when he saw her, he'd as much as know her. Suddenly, we saw Peter and Junior through the skinny windows walking toward the room, shackled at their hands and feet.
Olivia. "Daddy, Daddy!" screamed Brandon, and he ran toward his dad and grabbed him around the knees. Junior's face lit up, and I couldn't stop staring at him. I loved and missed him so much that I ached deep down, and all I wanted to do was hold him and never let him go. Still, underneath his huge smile, he was clearly a different person than I'd known before he went away.
Absolutely.
He looked like he was suffering from malnutrition and smelled like he hadn't showered since he'd left Mexico. He kept staring down at Brandon, like he was ashamed to hold his head up. After a moment or so, I lifted up his chin and looked him in the eyes. "You're the handsomest man I've ever seen," I said, "and the bravest, most courageous husband in the world."
Mia. When I saw Peter, I couldn't believe how skinny he was. His hair was long and ratty, and his beard had grown out. The prison officials hadn't allowed him to take a shower in 4 weeks.
Damn.
He didn't even want to hug me. "I'm so sorry you have to..."
Listen, man. They're prisoners, right? But don't we got some kind of rules in this country? Like, we don't. Evidently, we don't. In no country, there's no fucking rules. You know? And everybody's willing to bend them. You know what I mean? Now, for enough... If you're enough of a superstar, you could probably smoke bud in Abu Dhabi. You know what I mean? I don't know if they've ratified that yet. But, you know, it gets to a point where that lack of hygiene creates disease and kills people and makes things contagious. And, you know what I mean? Like, they got to be, but there's none. Like, we too far gone. This is... You know, people don't like to hear the Roman Empire talk, but it's the Roman Empire.
"See me like this," he said. "I'm so sorry. Please forgive me." "I've missed you," I said, pulling him toward me. "I'm just happy to be here with you." I didn't want him to apologize. Just for that one afternoon, I didn't want to think about how our lives were upside down. And luckily, it wasn't hard with Bella in the room. Peter couldn't keep his eyes off of her. She'd grown so much over the last month that she looked like a different baby. The agents took his handcuffs off and let him hold her, and he was so happy, like this pure, innocent joy. It was beautiful.
Olivia. Junior was so worried about me and the babies. At home, he'd done everything for us, and he knew being on my own was hard. "Are you doing okay?" he kept asking. "I'm fine, but I'm more worried about you." "Please don't be. Your happiness is what keeps me going. I just want to see you smile, Liv." My poor husband, I thought. He's having to live through us now, and I spend all day depressed. I decided to keep that to myself and, instead, listened to Peter and Junior recount how they'd spent the last month.
Mia.
Mind you, at this point, they still had each other, in the least. In the least, they were still together in the joint. Had to work together every day. And again, now that I think about it, that, I always say they weren't going to keep them together much longer. You know what I'm saying? That it wasn't the fault of the 3 Bs that got them separated. They would have separated them eventually. But they had them together because they needed them to work. That's what they needed from them.
After Peter and Junior were flown out of Guadalajara, they went to Mexico City and were there for a day. The next morning at 6, U.S. Marshals escorted them out of their hotel, hid them in an armored truck, and drove them into a nearby hangar, where they were placed on a U.S. government jet. They were sent to Dallas, and as soon as their feet touched U.S. soil, officials shackled them and read them their rights.
Olivia. All around them, cameras began flashing. So many, in fact, that they were temporarily blinded.
They told
As
that
they
story.
walked onto the tarmac, Junior squinted, turned to Peter, and without words, communicated what they were both thinking. I can't believe all that we've done. Suddenly, he felt like a terrorist. In his worst nightmare, he'd never imagined how notorious he and Peter really were.
Mia. From Dallas, they went to Milwaukee, where the federal investigation against them had begun almost a decade before. Agents shackled them, then led them into a federal building in the dead of night. The structure had been locked down as a security precaution, and Peter and Junior could hardly turn their heads without seeing an armed guard or an official from one of several different agencies. Some placed their fingers on their weapons, and many just stared. There had never been a trafficking case as huge as theirs in the United States, much less the state of Wisconsin. And the fact that they were major figures in the cartel world who'd willingly turned themselves in, it was the most remarkable case any agent there had seen.
Olivia. Peter and Junior spent one day in Milwaukee in separate prison cells, within earshot of each other. During the night, Peter called out to Junior, "Please don't sleep. Talk to me. I'm lonely." They'd been building a criminal enterprise for almost half their lives, and Peter was no stranger to captivity. But this was their first night in jail, a place they'd spent their whole lives avoiding. The next morning, they were transported to the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago. It only took an hour for them to get there. They were in a caravan of black Suburbans, surrounded by U.S. Marshals that raced at top speed and blew through every red light. Barack Obama had just taken office, and we later heard that a few bystanders who saw them pass just assumed that Secret Service was moving the president. Almost immediately after they got situated in the MCC, they orchestrated a massive reverse sting. Federal agents facilitated a few controlled deliveries and then seized the drugs. Because of that, a lot of their workers had been arrested, but many of their wholesalers were still working the streets. When raids and seizures weren't happening, they were offering evidence and testimony to the U.S. attorneys for 12 hours a day, every day. They'd do this for 6 straight months.
Damn. 12 hours a day, every day. Running it. Basically running it under false pretenses. Crazy.
"We're telling the feds everything," Junior said. "Names, locations, all the ins and outs of our business."
Again, to me, at that point, you're giving everything. You're giving up everything. You know that if you don't give them something and they find out about it 10, 15, 20 years later, they coming for you, right? You're giving everything. You're going to get your little number. Why not if there was bodies, why not throw the bodies in there? That's the part that's the shutdown so far. Nobody's giving me an answer otherwise. You know what I'm saying? That makes any sense.
The whole bit.
Mia. Peter told us that all the proffering and recording happened in the federal building right where we were sitting, but that they were being housed in the Metropolitan Correctional Center right across the street. The MCC is a massive, brown, windowless building, and it's essentially a holding pen for federal criminals awaiting trial, sentencing, or placement in another prison. When they move us out of the MCC every day, he said, we have 12 marshals lead us out. They cover up the windows on everyone else's cells so they won't know who's passing by. As long as you're safe, baby, I said. That's the most important thing. God, I was naive. That wasn't all that mattered. They didn't just need to be safe. They deserved to be treated with some basic human dignity, too.
Olivia. The MCC was...
Mind you, do I believe that there's some criminals that don't deserve, human decency? Yeah. Those that do not offer up human decency. You know what I mean? Problem is, as far as law enforcement and the hoorahs are concerned, all crime is created equal. Doesn't matter if it's out of necessity, desperation, Go ahead and commit a crime while you're trying to save a family member from a more dire consequence. You know what I'm saying? See if they still don't charge you. They give you a pat on the back. Well done. Saved your family member, but we got to get you on this gun charge, this, that, that. We're not just going to let this shit go. It's not what we do. So, first of all, there's a lot of drug dealers that shouldn't be in jail. There's just jails is just big business, and it's the mission to put people in there and get that money and get that government bread, and it's the same as any cartel, and it's the same as any other operation. They're all plugged and connected. That's it. To each other.
Was hell on earth. Sure, no one was going to kill them there, but spending 10 minutes within those walls was kind of like dying. Junior was always the type of person who was so selfless he never complained. But looking into his eyes every time I visited, it was hard to miss his pain and suffering. I wanted to tell him how bad I was feeling, but knowing how awful he had it and how traumatized he looked, I didn't have it in my heart to. He was already too broken.
Yeah, he would just been beating up on him at that point.
Mia. Junior and Peter were such a big deal at the MCC that the guards there grew to hate them. They made their jobs harder because they had to jump through all these hoops just to get them out the door. So they cut their privileges, letting them have fewer showers, restricting their phone calls, and locking them down 20...
Yeah, y'all dirty for that. Somebody make you come do your job and you just want to keep them from showering and let them get MRSA and fucking die. Like, that's your place in the world to make that kind of decision. Fuck out of here.
24/7.
Olivia. While other inmates were pacing around their cells shirtless because it was so warm, Peter and Junior had been deliberately put into a cell that was so cold. The walls were covered in a thin sheet of ice, yet the guards wouldn't give them any blankets. Peter and Junior lay together in the bed just to create body heat between the two of them. They were shaking the entire time. The guard who checked on them at night once caught them and said, "Get the fuck out of that bed before I give you both a shot." That was a disciplinary action that would force them each into solitary confinement, which didn't make a difference because they were already there. Junior responded, "We're brothers. Are you fucking kidding me?" But the guard kept on. "Get out of that bed before I write you up."
Yeah, bruh. They don't give a shit that y'all brothers. If you're not gonna, even if y'all not in there on some funny stuff, you're not gonna be in there on some emotional fucking crutch shit either. They're like, you basically together so that you can work for us. Don't get cute. Creature comforts. None of them.
Mia. The guards finally moved them into a different cell, and when Peter walked into it, he half believed a mass murder had just gone down. There was blood on the walls, on the mattress, and on the floor. It smelled terrible, but the guards wouldn't clean it up till the next day. The guy in the cell across from them would scream all day and night that he was going to commit suicide. Then he'd rub his own shit all over the walls and the doors. The hall dividing them was so small, Peter could smell it all day. So he'd just sit in the cell, put his arms over his head, and think, I'm living in hell. This is not a place for a human being to be.
Olivia. It broke my heart to watch my husband and brother-in-law suffer. Every time I left my weekly visit, I'd get so angry that as soon as I got into my car, I'd call up our lawyer, Joe, and let him have it. How the hell can they do their jobs if they're hurting like that?
Right.
I'd scream. If you don't help make things better for them as soon as possible, you're going to hear from me every day of your life. But all my calls didn't do any good. In the government's eyes, Junior and Peter were criminals, and all that mattered was that they kept feeding the feds intel.
Right, but they bite their own nose off to spite their face. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could have. I don't understand. I do understand. They're just as merciless, heartless, disrespectful, and deadly as any other cartel. Why? Because they are one. Shout out Felix Reyes in the chat. He said, that's crazy. You would think they were the ones that took the towers down in 9/11. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you would think. But as far as these dummies are concerned, think about how many lives they took with drugs. Well, how about the Iran-Contra affair? How about the Rick Ross and the whole Kiki Camarena and the CIA? How about that? Nobody's taking accountability for that. Stop it. That killed people too. There's families destroyed over that too. How about all the times you had your hand in the cookie jar? You know what I mean? But they act like these dudes right here. And these dudes gave him the big fish that now everybody want to downplay like he was nothing. I don't know, man.
Mia. Getting back to Olivia's house didn't provide much of a relief for us. We were still living together, but we never felt at home. We were so consumed by what our husbands were going through that we became imprisoned in our own minds. Day by day, we were making ourselves miserable thinking about Junior and Peter, and we felt stagnant. Like this could all go on forever and nothing would ever actually happen. Then, in the middle of that winter, something did happen. We started feeling the heat from the people Peter and Junior were helping haul in.
Olivia. Junior had always made every day feel like Valentine's to me, but around the actual day, he treated me extra special. No matter what we did, where we went, or what we gave each other, Valentine's Day wasn't just a Hallmark holiday. It really said something about our love. That's why, just before Valentine's Day 2009, I fell into a major depression. All I wanted to do was sit around, sulk, and think about all the good times I'd had with Junior. But Adrian and Daniela refused to let me and dragged me out of the house to get me over my funk. Brandon and I love sushi, so we all drove to a Benihana-type Japanese restaurant near my house. After we sat down, got situated, and ordered, I got up to go to the bathroom. Just as I walked out of the ladies' room, holding Brandon in my arms, I ran right into one of the wholesalers Junior had informed on a few months before.
Dang.
Apparently, he was out on bond, and when he laid eyes on me, he was pissed. He got right up in my face, put his fingers to my head, and started yelling at me. I know Junior is telling. He and Peter fucking ratted me out. What the hell are you talking about? I was trying to sound innocent. That's not true. I was scared out of my mind, thinking he was going to hurt me and my son, and I hugged Brandon closer to me. I got paperwork, he said, and it says Informant 1 and Informant 2 on it. Who else could that be? Just then, Adrian walked.
It might as well have said Informant Twin and Informant Twin on it. You know what I'm saying? 2. They got the number 2.
Walked out of the men's bathroom, saw what was happening, and put himself between the wholesaler and me. "You need to calm down and relax," he said. "This is bullshit. How can my brothers be telling if I'm still here working? Wouldn't I be in jail too?" The wholesaler looked at Adrian and realized he had a good point. He backed off and shrugged. Then he turned to Adrian and said, "Can I get your number for some work then?" This guy was out of jail on bond, and he was still looking to grab a few jobs.
With his head up his own ass. A minute ago, he was a genius. I figured it out. Dude threw a couple words at him, second guessed himself, and then went all the way on the other side of that and said, "Can I get some work, dog? I need some work, dog." Holla at your boy. Gee whiz. It's kind of ridiculous.
That just tells you how connected Junior, Peter, and our family were known to be.
Mia. People had expressed their suspicions to Junior and Peter directly, too. There was one occasion when Peter was on the phone setting up a drug bust, and a customer paused and said, "I need to ask you something. Are you a rat?
Dang.
Just be honest." Peter would deny it backward and forward, but a big part of him just wanted to fess up and answer, "Yes, I am." He and Junior were feeling guilty. They were putting people they loved behind bars and knew their families' lives were going to be changed forever by it. These were workers who had children. Each time they helped the feds set up a controlled delivery, they were letting go of a long friendship. And it broke their hearts to turn their backs on the same people that they'd taken care of for years. When I saw Peter every Friday, the pain showed on his face. The light he'd always had in his eyes had started to dim. He was so cold and pale all the time.
That's the shitty part of it right there, bro. That's the shitty part of it right there. Like, forget about taking down the guys that put everybody in jeopardy. You know what I mean? That told them to make a choice because of their little war, right? But now you got the government that's not, they don't just want what you can give them up there. You got to give them everything. Again, they were willing to break all those relationships. They were willing to put away people that they love. They'd have been willing to drop them bodies in the profit. That's what I think. You know what I mean? But here's the shitty part of it right here. They're like, nah, that ain't enough. We need everything. And that meant giving up everybody.
And when I'd hug him, he couldn't let me go. He'd ask me to comfort him, saying, "Just remind me that I'm doing the right thing." I lived for those Fridays. But staying home with Olivia was getting easier. Maybe we were just getting used to our new lives. We started cleaning the house every day so we wouldn't be surrounded by mountains of dirty diapers. We weren't getting new vehicles every month like we had in Mexico, so we took our cars to the shop for oil changes and new tires. Even after everything they'd gone through, our husbands kept saying how worried they were about us driving in the snow. No one was running our errands anymore, so we did them ourselves. On the weekends, we watched happy family movies, and it may sound silly, but they helped us see life in a positive light. We shoveled snow together and took the garbage out twice a week. Once Olivia fell on her butt when she was hauling trash, and we both burst out laughing. As she lay there in the snow, I looked at her, smiled, and said, "I can't believe this is what our lives have become." It was hard. Our lives were like night and day compared to what they'd been 6 months before, but we were making it. Little did I know, though, that I'd need that strength, because my life was about to become even more complicated.
All right, that was
Chapter
chapter
25.
26. That was chapter 26. Not a bad chapter. They gave us, I guess, this was the court talk, or them going to court, them being able to visit the boys for the first time, them seeing that they was definitely neglected, not allowed to shower for weeks and weeks at a time, which there got to be a law against that. There got to be something on the books for that, but nobody cares, man. Humans care less about humans than anything else. So, it is what it is. None of y'all still with me? Hundreds in the chat if you want to go one more. Who is in the building? Again, check out the Ill Shop up top. Hundreds in the chat if you want to keep going. For one more again. Let's see here. Take a look at the Pillow Talk pillow covers. No pillow talk. Felix Reyes with 100 in the chat. That's good enough for me. Old Soul with 100 in the chat. That too is good enough for me. One more again. I'm already here, right? Right. Still got a little bit more editing to do. Got to edit the La Barbie episode. And edit whatever's on this live stream. Then I'm going to try to do some behind the scenes videos. See if they can go on YouTube. And if they can't, put them on Patreon and start building up that catalog over there.
Alabama.
But yeah, there should be some type of quality control of prison when it comes to you're not letting people, and these guys are giving you the good stuff, and you're like, whatever, animal, you get nothing. The dangerous part of them traveling back and forth, the women traveling back and forth, going to the courthouse, this, that, the other, running into people. Chicago's a big city, but it's a small town. And they just happen to be in a restaurant or whatever, coming out the restroom and running into people that the twins were putting active cases on and feeling the pressure of it. But again, the guy was a genius for 1 second. Then Adrian flipped his head up, convinced them that he had the wrong guys and that he wanted some work from them. You know what I mean? But that's the dangerous part right there. That's the dangerous part. Again, remember the type of guys that they're rolling up in these cases. They rolled up Saul in these cases. Saul is, steps beneath Animal. Like, that's probably an upgrade. You know what I mean? Like, so those are the type of people that they were talking on at the time. You run into one of those, next thing you know, Val, Viv, the kid, the brother, everybody snatched up. You never know. Chapter 27, Cartel Wives.
Chapter 25.
She lying.
Alabama. Mia. Valentine's Day 2009 was on a Thursday. But because Olivia and I only got to visit Peter and Junior on Fridays, we decided to celebrate the day after the holiday. I used to write Peter 10-page love letters at night after Bella was asleep, so I packed one up along with some new family photos I'd recently taken and got in my car. When we arrived and settled into the visiting area, I turned to Olivia and Junior with a plan. Can you distract the guards for a little bit? They agreed, then cornered them and immediately began talking. Peter, let's go to the bathroom. I whispered.
Uh-oh.
We can't, he answered.
Here go one of the bees. We're finding out, as far as the book tell it, this was Viv's idea.
Someone will catch us. I put my foot down. I don't care. It had been months since we'd made love, and we missed each other desperately. I knew a prison bathroom isn't the most romantic place to be with your husband, but we needed that closeness and would have done anything to get it. Plus, Peter needed to feel like a human being again, and honestly, so did I. A few weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. Bella was barely 3 months old. I was shocked. But with a husband in prison and the rest of my life so uncertain, was I even just the tiniest bit worried or disappointed? Not for a second. My baby was a beautiful new beginning, In fact, having something so innocent growing inside me shielded me from what was happening to me and Olivia. The word was out about our husbands, and we'd been receiving threats.
Olivia. DEA agents were receiving intel and had been tapping phones for months. But sometime that winter, they'd intercepted a suspicious call. A group of armed men were standing outside a hair salon, waiting for someone they thought was me to come out so they could kidnap me. Junior and Peter's attorney, Joe, called me in a panic with the feds on the line.
Imagine you the wrong one. You're not even Val. You get snatched up, you know what I'm saying, by a bunch of dummies trying to come get you. You get snatched up. You got nothing to do with nothing. You got no answers. They wildin'.
And when I picked up the phone, I heard the fear in their voices. Liv, you're in danger, they said. People are after you. I hadn't been anywhere near the salon. The person inside looked a lot like me, but it was the wrong girl. The kidnappers were about to kick in the door, but the feds showed up and prevented anything from going down. Still, the whole incident scared the shit out of me. I knew the feds couldn't intercept every call, and they wouldn't always be there to save the day.
I'm pretty sure that was Saul.
Mia. The feds investigated one death threat after another against me and Olivia in the months after Peter and Junior were moved into the MCC. In fact, there were so many that I started to lose count. There was one incident that stood out the most. An informant gave information that Sergio Gomez had been staking out Olivia's house.
Oh, it wasn't Saul. This is Saul.
Armed and ready to kidnap her. The feds called us immediately.
So what? He was... Hold on.
Mia. The feds investigated one death threat after another against me and Olivia in the months after Peter and Junior were moved into the MCC. In fact, there were so many that I started to lose count. There was one incident that stood out the most. An informant gave information that Sergio Gomez had been staking out Olivia's house, armed and ready to kidnap her. The feds called us immediately, and they practically banned us from the state.
Yo, the crybaby killer is back. Buddy is back. That's the type of parasite you can't get rid of, boy. So let's do the timeline here. 2003, 2004, around there somewhere, he pulls the shit that he pulled with Pete the first time. After that, the twins go to Vegas with him for fights or whatever, but they play it slick. You know, they don't blow their opportunity to they don't put the light on them that they understand that it was him that did it. He still thinks it's all good. They go through their life, they go to Mexico, they end up here. And this fool's trying to snatch up Val while they're in prison. You can't fuck up the movie. There's nothing you can do to fuck it up. The truth is stranger than fiction. You know what I'm saying? The truth is stranger than fiction. It's too crazy. The characters are something else, man. It is what it is. This dude reared his little ugly head again. He just popped up out of nowhere again. Saul, Sergio.
You girls cannot be here anymore, they said. The threats are coming in every direction, and we aren't going to be able to intercept every single one before it ends in tragedy. We think you should move to throw off anyone who's looking for you. It had become a job in and of itself to protect us, and they needed to focus their efforts on the cases they had to build. It didn't take much convincing. Olivia and I decided to leave town right away.
Olivia. We'd missed Junior and Peter's family since we'd been back in the States. While we'd gone straight to Chicago, they'd settled far away in Alabama because they wanted to be somewhere quiet and warm, far from Chicago.
Damn.
Besides the time Adrian had come to visit, it had been months since we'd seen them. We'd only been able to talk about Junior and Peter on the phone. They were going through the same emotions we were, and I didn't just think they could help us cope. I realized they might also be able to help me with Brandon. He'd been going through so much being away from his dad, and when we'd lived in Mexico, he'd always enjoyed being with Junior's family. He missed them. We all did. And I hoped being around family would help us feel closer to Junior. So we packed up our things.
You're lucky Armando was with you when you was running into these guys that the twins was rolling up. Because had the family been in Alabama at that point, or had he been in Alabama and not with you, could have been a big problem.
And my boys and I moved in with Daniela and Adrian, while Mia and Bella looked for their own place.
There it is.
Mia. After 6 months in the MCC, Peter and Junior had been transferred to a county prison in Wisconsin, then to a federal facility in Kansas. We planned on visiting them every week. Life for them in Kansas was so much better, and Peter couldn't have been happier. The MCC had been so bad that any place else was going to feel like the Ritz-Carlton.
Olivia. In the middle of nowhere, Kansas, there were 50 or more prisoners housed at a federal prison. They were all informants protected under the Witness Protection Program, and everyone, except for Junior and Peter, had been convicted and sentenced. Some were mobsters, and others were drug dealers, but none were on the level of Peter and Junior. There are only a handful of these prisons in the country, and the government doesn't just place anyone who's worked with the feds there. You have to be a really big deal and be in an extremely dangerous situation.
So it's a rogues gallery of informants.
Mia. When Olivia and I visited Junior and Peter, there was no glass separating us from them, and there was no dirty black phone you'd have to speak through. Instead, we sat on chairs in a super tiny visiting room, and Brandon, Benjamin, and Bella could actually play because they had a small area for kids. The guards were so nice to us because they saw us every weekend, and realizing how family-oriented Peter and Junior were, they treated them well. They let them hold the babies, which they hadn't been able to do in Wisconsin. It certainly wasn't like being at home, but Junior and Peter said that if they could have served their whole time there, they would have.
Olivia. They weren't locked down 24/7, so they spent their days working out, writing love letters to us, signing extradition papers, and meeting with prosecutors and DEA agents when they were needed. Even though they worried so much about our safety, they were happy because they felt closer to us, with 300 phone minutes a month and visiting privileges every weekend. Plus, it may sound funny, but the company was better. It feels good to be around people and just talk about normal things that have nothing to do with business, Junior said. Junior's such a people person, and I knew he needed that socialization, and he loved our visits, which were finally regular. I rented an apartment in Kansas and would fly up there every Friday from Alabama, staying till Sunday. I didn't care if there was a blizzard or 15 inches of snow on the ground. We might as well buy our own snowplow to hook up to the front of our trucks, I joked with Mia, because nothing's going to stop us from getting to our visits.
Listen, man, you guys tell me again. All of this talk that I hear, all of this puteria comments that I hear in the comments and that I read in the comments about how these gold diggers are always up to no good and they love, they love the clout and the game and they were the mastermind and this was all a play by them and all of this shit. Why them girls was going through blizzards to go see these dudes? Like, they could have just disconnected, made it very simple for themselves and let the boys figure it out for themselves in the joint. It happens all the time, you know what I'm saying? And then you got those people that are willing to crawl up a mountain to get there, you know what I'm saying? Nobody accounts for that part. Everybody puts this everybody pushes this dramatic soap opera shit, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, we're not talking about the fact that, everywhere these dudes went, prison to prison, somehow these chicks moved there, got there, crawled there, you know, and did what they had to do. It's crazy.
As much as I loved seeing Junior, it was so difficult to travel with my kids being so small. Benjamin always cried a lot on the flights, and people would give us dirty looks when he did. Prisons are never close to cities, so the drive from the airport there was 2 hours in the best of conditions, which they rarely were in winter. On Christmas, one of my flights was delayed because of snow, so I only got to spend 30 minutes with Junior. I didn't care. I would have driven across the country just to see him for 3 minutes. When I got back home on Sunday, I pretty much had to start repacking right away for the next weekend. I constantly felt like a truck had run over me, but I knew I depended on my visits as much as Junior did. They got me through my week. Sometimes, the travel made me despise my life, but Junior always kept me grounded. He'd remind me how blessed we were that we were alive and healthy and had each other. Most importantly, visits were the only time our boys had with their dad, and it was amazing to see the bond that grew every weekend.
I tell you what, it's a lot of mamas that wouldn't give a damn. I mean, they probably care, but they'd be like, but it's too much. I can't take it. You know what I'm saying? I want them to know their father, but this is too much. I can't take it. Like, these two managed to get her done. Y'all let me know if there's any problems with the stream. It says I'm dropping frames, but seems good to me.
Brandon absolutely lives for Junior. Every year, when he blows out the candles on his birthday cake, his only wish is for his daddy to come home. Benjamin doesn't know what it's like to have Junior home, but like his brother, he loves him unconditionally, and when his birthday comes around, we count the years Junior's been gone. Still, seeing their dad in prison wasn't always easy for them. In fact, for Brandon, it was actually painful.
Mia. Brandon would break down every weekend, and Peter and I felt terrible watching it. We'd hear a cry that's hard to describe. It was like he was hurting inside, and that feeling was screaming to come out.
Olivia. Brandon was the only baby who remembered his dad outside of a prison wall, so he took it the hardest. He understood what it was like to miss someone so much that it physically hurts.
Mia. Life with their dads in prison was all the babies had ever known, and for my new baby, it was going to be the same. I knew it wasn't going to be easy to keep our family close, given the circumstances, but I kept telling myself, this is your life now, and this is just what you have to do. Sometimes it wasn't so bad. Compared to so many women who get pregnant with no steady partner and no support system, I had it good. In fact, Peter was already bending over backward to be involved with my pregnancy, and he had been since the beginning. Because I couldn't call Peter in prison, I had to wait for him to call me. To feel more involved in family life, Peter always noted all my appointments in his calendar. Plus our family events and little occasions like the day Bella got her first tooth. The first few months after I found out I was pregnant, he stored up all his phone minutes, knowing he couldn't waste them since I had big doctor's visits coming up. The day I found out whether we were having a boy or a girl, I sat on my hands for what felt like forever till he called. I knew he'd marked it in his calendar. He just hadn't been given the opportunity to use the phone. Then my cell rang, and before he even had a chance to say hello, I started talking. "Are you ready to teach your son how to play basketball?" "I'm having a son?" he screamed. He was so loud the whole prison probably shook, and hearing him so happy made my heart sing. Right then, I needed that pure joy, that crazy excitement, because what I refused to tell my husband was that I was having a really, really hard time living with his family in Alabama.
Olivia. Everyone's lives had
Vernon Himes in the chat said La Barbie should be a good one. Yeah, I'm gonna cut that up, put that out this week. Felix Reyes said, yeah, they were riding hard for their men. I mean, if you hear them tell the story and if you hear Surviving El Chapo, that's what you hear. Now, only time I hear anything contrary to that is in the comments. So, you know.
Completely changed when we left Mexico, but Mia and I rolled with it. Sure, it was hard, but not because we didn't have the material things we were used to, and certainly not because we regretted what Peter and Junior had done. We were proud of them. We just missed our husbands terribly and worried constantly that we were going to be killed by the cartels, who had the money and the means to track us down. Peter and Junior's family, on the other hand, couldn't stand the fact that they started working for the government. While it brought out the best in us, it was just the opposite for them.
Mia. Peter and Junior had been their family's meal tickets. With them gone, and in such a shameful way, their parents and siblings complained all the time. There was constant fighting. When Peter and Junior told their family they had to get jobs like normal people do, I heard my in-laws complain. What kind of job do they expect us to do? They asked, genuinely confused and angry. They were just paralyzed, sitting around the house doing next to nothing.
Olivia. Junior and Peter had enabled their family members. They were so used to living in Mexico, where you pay cash for everything. In the United States, you have to have credit, and you need references to rent a house. Peter's dad was a convicted felon who'd been a fugitive for years. He wasn't a landlord's dream tenant, and he sure as hell wasn't going to get a credit card to make him look better on paper. Credit was for poor people, not him.
Mia. I don't blame them for being so self-involved, but I hated that they couldn't see how depressed I was. They complained constantly to me, assuming that I could do something, when all the while I was thinking, how can I fix anything when I'm as lost as you are?
Well, if we're talking about the parents they ain't thinking about no depression. That shit wasn't a word in their era. You know, that's pre-diagnosis era depression.
My parents were so overprotective when it came to me and Bella, and I knew they would have come and packed me up in a day if I'd asked them to. But I was too ashamed to tell them that I was at my very worst. I even shied away from talking to Peter about it, since I knew all he wanted was for me to be happy. Adrian and Daniela would check on me from time to time, but they had their own lives. I felt so alone, living in my apartment with Bella, and I struggled every day. Bella was a huge baby. I'm tiny, and she was half as big as I was. People would see us out and say, "Is that your baby, or are you babysitting for someone?" With my belly, I could hardly pick her up. In that awful heat, I'd be pouring sweat. The best I could do was just let Bella float in a little raft in the pool all day to cool us down and tire her out. At night, I'd cook a healthy dinner for myself, we'd take a long bath, and I'd read to her. Then I'd turn on the television, let Bella fall asleep in my arms, then cry silently to myself. In the morning, I could hardly get up, but I'd force myself to pick up Bella and go out and run errands. As soon as I put her in her car seat, she'd already be dripping in sweat. Yet no one in Peter's family offered to help me. No one.
Olivia. They just didn't understand why Junior and Peter were doing what they were doing, and it consumed them.
It's past your understanding already. You already in the mix. You've already benefited from what they're doing in the sense that you got your way to the United States. You know what I'm saying? The people that are hunting you in Mexico, you in the United States, you've already benefited from what they're doing. It's past. It doesn't matter if you understand. The fact is, it's what it is. It's time to work. It's time to get money. It's time to do this, that, the other. Being dumbfounded don't benefit nobody.
It was like they didn't have time and energy to consider anyone but themselves, and they couldn't see the big picture. They didn't think about Peter and Junior, that if they hadn't made the decision they had, they'd be dead or in prison for life. My father-in-law took it the worst. To him, Junior and Peter becoming snitches was the most horrible thing they'd ever done. When he'd found out his sons were cooperating, he'd screamed, "You're both cowards!" and stormed out of the house. They were the last words he'd spoken in the months before they'd turned themselves in, and since their dad never visited them in prison, it was one of the last memories they had of him.
Crazy.
It hurt them deeply. Peter and Junior knew that what they were doing was right, but the little boys inside of them still wanted their dad's approval. I didn't know what to feel because I loved my father-in-law, but I felt terrible for what he'd said to Junior and Peter. Being called cowards broke their hearts. But I didn't hold it against my father-in-law. It was just the way he'd been raised.
Mia. In my family, we always greet each other with a hug and a kiss. That's just what we do. We say goodbye with a hug and a kiss, too. My dad's never been anything but affectionate and loving with me, always smiling and pleasant to be around. Sure, he gets upset about things and speaks his mind, but he's not an angry guy. He's manly, but not macho. That's the opposite of Peter's dad. Senor always had this way about him that I feared right from the first time I met him. He never smiled, and at dinner he'd get really stern and pound his fist on the table when he'd talk. I'd think, oh my goodness, is he mad? He wasn't, or usually wasn't.
Me either.
He was just passionate.
That's my life story right there. Aggression being mistaken, passion being mistaken for aggression.
For the first year or so I knew my father-in-law, our conversations consisted of good morning and good night. That was it. There was no small talk. There was no, hi, are you having a good day? And there was certainly no hugging or kissing when we saw each other. We were all business. At the time, I thought, maybe he's so unfriendly because he already has so many sons-in-law and daughters-in-law, and having another is no biggie. But now I realize that's just the way he was. He was set in his ways. Peter understood this, and he went with it and spoke to him like a friend. They'd sometimes argue, usually about money, and I'd keep my mouth shut the whole time. When it was over and his dad had stormed off into another room, I'd say, look what just happened. You can't get out of line with your dad. Peter would laugh. That's just how he is, Mia. He's not really mad. It's just how he is.
Olivia. My father-in-law was a typical old-school Mexican man. He was completely different than my dad, who was encouraging and supportive and wanted me to be smart and independent like my mom. Still, I got along with my father-in-law, and I actually really understood him. I never judged him, and I grew to love him. When I first came on the scene, I wasn't afraid to be as strong as him. I spoke my mind, and over the years, I'd call him out if I thought he did something wrong. Sometimes it wasn't pretty, but I think he appreciated that someone was having a real conversation with him, actually paying attention to him, even if it was more of a debate. He wouldn't really argue with me. He'd just smirk and smile to himself. He thought I was funny. Once, he woke up my mother-in-law after one of our late-night debates. "Olivia is muy cabrona," he said, meaning I was a real badass bitch who didn't take no shit. My mother-in-law just smiled, rolled over, and went back to sleep.
Mia. Despite my initial hesitation, I grew to love my father-in-law. Not just because he was family, but because I started to understand him. He began to seem like a normal person, not the stereotypical macho Mexican guy he tried to make himself out to be. When I first moved to San Juan, Peter started buying horses. His hobby soon became my hobby, and our bonding time began to involve us driving to different ranches to look at horses. 9 times out of 10, his parents would come with us. Once we all traveled together to a ranch about 2 hours away. As we drove up to the front gate, Senor was greeted by a worker who opened his arms up to him. "Oh, Margarito! Buenos dias, how are you?" the man said. "Very good, and very excited to be here." My father-in-law looked genuinely thrilled. We got in the back of the worker's pickup truck and drove into an overgrown field. The ground was so...
You're definitely always going to see more charisma when they're around friends and associates than you're going to see around family, that generation.
Tangled up with grass that you couldn't really see where you were going, but we got out of the truck and started walking anyway. About 10 steps in, the rancher opened his palm, which he'd filled with oats. All of a sudden, wild, beautiful horses came out from behind the trees like magic and began making their way through the grass toward us. I looked over at my father-in-law, and I saw his eyes light up. He began to smile, completely in awe. I don't think I'd ever seen him melt like that.
The duality of
right
man.
There and then I saw his softer side, and for the first time, I felt close to him. Even though I was so scared of him most of the time, at that moment, we were close. I try to remember those moments now when I think about him.
Olivia. My father-in-law loved his grandchildren, especially Benjamin and Bella. In Mexico, when you're light-skinned or have blonde hair or blue eyes, people are like, wow. Benjamin and Bella are fair-skinned, and my father-in-law would always stare at them and say, they're beautiful, like porcelain dolls. He loved to hold Benjamin and hug him, and he'd sing to Bella until she fell asleep. He was the perfect grandfather to them at a time when they didn't really have their fathers, or at least that constant male presence. That's why I didn't understand why he wanted to leave. He had everything: a family, grandchildren he loved, and most of all, safety. No one knew where he was in Alabama, and chances were good that no one was going to come after him. But he was angry with his sons for being snitches, for taking him away from his other family, and most of all, for making him flee from his home.
Mia. When you live in Mexico, you realize pretty quickly that there are people who never want to leave. They love their town, and they love their country. That's how my father-in-law was.
Olivia. That longing for home started before he'd gone back to America. In fact, after my father-in-law returned from his kidnapping, Peter and Junior bought him and my mother-in-law a mansion near our home in Guadalajara. They convinced them to leave San Juan, saying it wasn't safe. I completely furnished and decorated the mansion beautifully, and we threw a massive housewarming party for them around Christmas 2006, with a huge Christmas tree, a red sparkly bow on the door, and a 12-man mariachi band serenading them as they drove up to their new house. That night, my father-in-law was in tears, remembering how different his last Christmas had been. But days later, he soured. He started talking about how much he missed San Juan, and he began complaining about being away from home to anyone who would listen.
Mia.
Made up his mind.
That was the way he was in Alabama, too. Never mind that he had a wife he'd been married to for almost 50 years and grandkids who adored him and were there almost daily. From the moment he crossed the border into the United States, he began talking about going back. Something was calling him home, and no one was going to tell him otherwise.
Olivia. A few weeks after I moved to Alabama, I went over to my in-laws' house. No one answered the door, so I walked to the back. There, I saw my father-in-law, sitting by himself in a chair in the garden. He was staring at some flowers, deep in thought. I considered going through the gate to talk to him, but I was afraid he was going to tell me how disappointed he was in his sons. I was always defensive when it came to Junior and Peter, and the last thing I wanted to do was say something I'd regret to my father-in-law.
Probably the last time she saw him.
Suddenly, Adrian approached me. He'd come from the other side of the house, and he'd just seen me observing his dad. I looked at Adrian and lowered my voice. He's going to leave. He doesn't want to be here. You're crazy, Adrian said. But I wasn't. I knew what I knew, and I couldn't explain why. A few days later, in late March 2009, Adrian called me. My dad is gone, he said. He just picked up and left. Margarito Flores Sr. had packed a small bag and driven away in his car that morning. Adrian and I didn't discuss it, but we knew where he'd gone and why he hadn't taken much with him. Apparently, everything he needed was back home in Mexico. How could he do this to my mother-in-law? I thought. How could he do this to his sons? If something happens to him, they won't be able to live with themselves. He can't go back, I said to Adrian. The cartels are going to find him and kill him. What the fuck is wrong with him?
I wonder how quick it was.
There's nothing we can do, Liv, Adrian said. He's a grown man, and he knows what can happen to him. You know how he is. No one could have changed his mind. Even though I knew he was right, I still felt guilty for not trying. No one could tell my father-in-law shit, not Adrian, and especially not me. When he had his mind made up about something, that was just going to be the way it was. Damn the consequences.
Mia. He didn't seem to mind that Mexico was a war zone. The cartel wars were raging, and in fact, they'd been escalating the entire time Peter and Junior had been cooperating. On May 9th, 2008, Arturo Beltran Leyva's BLO army had sprayed Chapo's son, Edgar's car, with 200 bullets, killing him. In retaliation, Chapo began an all-out battle on the streets of Culiacan, complete with firefights and shootouts, and there was a curfew so innocent people could avoid getting killed. But the danger now wasn't just from random gunfire. Cartel members wanted to get revenge on Peter and Junior, and if that meant targeting their family, that was just fine.
Olivia. Margarito Sr. didn't care, though. In Mexico, there was a little church he liked to walk around in. In Mexico, he could speak Spanish. In Alabama, he lived in the suburbs, and there was no corner store you could walk to. In Alabama, there were no people hanging out in the plaza. There were no stories. There was no past. He'd gone back to Mexico to have all of that again.
Mia. We didn't hear anything for over a month. Then, one of the U.S. attorneys called Peter and Junior. We found your dad's car in the desert in Sinaloa, the lawyer said. It had a note on the windshield, warning both of you to keep your mouths shut. There was no blood in the car, no bullet holes, and no other evidence of foul play. But I know kidnappings. I've lived through one of my own, and 2 of my husband's. Kidnappers don't kill you in your car. They pull you out, put you in another car, and take you somewhere else. Sometimes the police will find your body, but most of the time they don't. My father-in-law fell into the latter category. He just vanished into thin air. Olivia and I visited our husbands in prison that weekend. It's all our fault, Peter said. We did this. Junior was crying. My poor mother. She's all alone now, and it's because of us. It's not. Please stop blaming yourselves, I pleaded. I was lying, though. Their dad would have lived if they hadn't become informants. He'd still be in Mexico, betting hundreds of thousands of dollars on the horses, enjoying his wife's cooking.
Would he, though? You would have had to make a choice at that point between cartels and worked for one of them, or the other one was going to come for the whole family. So would he be the first one that they went after or not? Who knows?
Stealing hours here and there with his second family, sitting on the beach in front of his house on a beautiful day and pounding his fists on the dinner table. I missed him that day, and I've missed him every day since. We'll never know what happened. Margarito Flores' death was just one of thousands that year during the Cartel Wars, but we just pray that he didn't suffer. We hope that he went in peace.
There it is, chapter 27. Also in the chat said they got to fuck with them. Yeah. But again, in the sense that she was saying it, was like, yeah, bro. If you wouldn't have cooperated, my thing is, if she said you'd have survived and you'd have been spending bread and this, that, the other. My thing is, if you didn't cooperate, you still had the problem with them trying to take you out because you got to make a choice, you know? So, in reality, would he have survived? At the end of the day, there's two ways that game ends, and both of those ways was coming at them at the same time. Death and prison, you know? It was coming in, and it was coming in fast. And at that point, the old man made up his mind, you know? There's a lot of men in here. You know, there's not many people that could push us off our square and make us change our mind. That has to come from within. That has to be something that you want to do, you know? And it seems he made his decision. He sat in front of them flowers looking for too long. He was a man of a certain age, a man of the street like that. He was going to make his decision and he was going to go. Yeah, the disappointment got to fuck with them too, you know? The old man was, you know, he didn't understand that talk. You know, he didn't understand that game. Again, I appreciate y'all for being here. We had a good stream today. About 340 in the books today. We got into the Berreyes, Hector Berreyes, talking about the Kiki Camarena situation. And we got some Cartel wives out the deal that I will be editing. Y'all could go ahead and start putting them hundreds in the chat. Let me go through the chat and give my shout outs. Salutes to Old Soul, Old 30 North, Adam Villanueva, Jonathan Pantoja, Chucky Chingon. Salutes to you. Goth Beauty, salutes to you, Goth. Appreciate you being here. What else we got in here? Buddy that we sat in the corner for 24 hours, whatever his face is. Salute to you. Sitting in the corner. Think Like a Kingpin, salutes. Thank you for being here, sir. Vernon Himes, salute to you, brother. There it is, Ravi and Serrano. You had to go sit down in the corner. Felix Reyes, salute to you. Appreciate you being here, bro. And that's it. We caught up. We caught up. I appreciate y'all being here. We had a good time. Let me find some exit music out of here. I got a lot of editing to do. We're going to go with...
Hey, who's excited to work around the clock?
We're going to go get out of here.
As a small business owner, time management.
Again, make sure y'all check out them other playlists. We got a lot of good stuff in there for you to look at. If you haven't seen it yet, please hit the like buttons at random. And subscribe if you have yet to subscribe. Check out the Ill Shop. The link is up there. The link is also on the channel page. I appreciate y'all for being here. We had a good time. And we'll be back at it. Y'all have a good Thursday evening. And we will holla. Peace.
Running away, no one is there, no one to save us, nothing to spare. How can I change what? We landed here. It's not the same, son. This is
over the hilltop, I see them right there. They'll wait for the kill shot, they'll sit and they'll stare. If we got a real shot for us, it's up there. We're hopeless if we stop, they'll kill us right here. Living in death's den, run through the best winds, storming the front gates. Whatever gets us in, whatever gets us over, whatever helps us win, whatever we must do. Rescuing our kids, as long as they get through it, don't matter if we live. God chose to bless you, I'll take all that death gives. I'm into this war ends, in memory of dead friends, in hope of a new way when all of this death ends. Who can we call on? It's me and it's all y'all. We're here by our lonesome, nobody to fall on. Flesh in the dirt, fire to ashes. Fate getting closer every moment that passes.
Running away, no one is there, no one to save us, nothing to spare. How can I change what? We landed here. It's not the same, son, this is despair. One of us came up, none of us cared. They want to change up, life isn't fair. It's how we made, huh? Now you aware. It's why you fear us, this why you scared.
Show me a safe place, does it exist? It must be a wasteland where nobody lives, that nobody knows of, where nobody's been. Where we at is warfare, every kind you can get. What you can't get is real love or fucking respect. Set up for failure, a life of neglect. If none of us stand up, we'll live with regrets. If we rise, we might die, I call that a good death. What would I live for if I am oppressed? How can I raise up with the world on my chest? Who's gonna save us if you and I rest? They shoot us in cold blood when under arrest. Lock us in cold cells, consider it home now. Cut off from emotion, our feelings are stone now. Our buildings are blown out, the madness is so loud. It's dark and there's no sound, we gotta go now.
Running away, no one is there, no one to save us, nothing to spare. How can I change what? We landed here. It's not the same, son, this is despair. One of us came up, none of us cared. They want to change up, life isn't fair. It's how we made, huh? Now you aware. It's why you fear us, this why you scared.
The illness is prevalent, natives malevolent. Hunger, starvation now, no hope for a heaven sent. Kiss the babies goodbye, say I love you to wives. Grab your weapons, get your steps in, we gon' ride when it rise. The sun mean what when it's blinding your eyes? Put the wind to your back, leave them facing the sky. Put the pain in the dirt, raise your bloody fist high. Use your brain, do the work, strategize and survive. The rush of the dust up, the thrill of the gun buzz. The satisfaction of our reaction when there's no one to help us. The spoils of war, the hunger for more. The passion of how we smashing what we hate through the floor. The rage, the loneliness of dead on the page. To cleanse this land, gotta burn more than just sage. Crush the cage, body and soul unafraid. Kill them all and set them ablaze. No running away,
no one is there, no one to save us, nothing to spare. How can I change what? We landed here. It's not the same, son, this is despair. One of us came up, none of us cared. They want to change up, life isn't fair. It's how we made, huh? Now you aware. It's why you fear us, this why you scared.